Sit back, relax, and enjoy 60 Rustic Farmhouse DIY crafts using mostly Dollar Tree items. Hey Bestie, welcome or welcome back. This is Lisa. If you're ready to craft your best life with me, let's get started right now. Cutting board from IKEA, and these are rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. I cut out a few of the words that said spring and one that said tiptoe through the tulips. I guess I just didn't particularly like that one. And what I did was I left everything else on there that I really liked, and I kind of positioned to see if it would fit on the cutting board. And then I laid it exactly where I wanted it. And then I took my little scraper tool and I had to go over every single part. So this was a little time consuming, but oh my gosh, you guys, this is so worth it. This looks so high end and expensive when it's done, and it's gorgeous.
I'm starting to grow old, and I thought my youth would last forever.
And I took the S from the word spring that I cut off so that I could have it say S for our last name. Some polyacrylic one coat by Minwax, did a couple coats on the top, and that's it. That is all it took, and this looks so gorgeous and so expensive. And that cutting board was less than $10, and the transfer was $1.25. I absolutely love this one. What do you think? Jar I didn't want to throw away. This was from IKEA. I love their lingonberry jam. It's my favorite. Anyway, this one, the label's a little tough. So I used my heat gun from Amazon on this one. And then later I realized it would have been better to soak it in water and then use my little Cricut scraper that I'm doing now. It actually goes faster than the heat tool. So there's a little tip for you. Soak your jar in like soapy water and it'll help come off much, much easier. I did get it off, and then I'm going to use a little bit of Goo Gone, and I'm going to rub off any adhesive that was left behind. This is a nice size jar, and I end up with quite a few of these. Like I said, it's the one jam that I really like. I'm not a big jam person. Also back with some alcohol because of the stickiness. I want to make sure, and the greasiness of the Goo Gone, I want to make sure that's all gone. I have a bunch of skewers from the Dollar Tree. Saw this on Pinterest, and what it is, it's sort of like a zigzaggy design. So the first thing I'm going to do, I figured out how many I need by just putting a string around the jar and then laying it out and then seeing how many skewers fit across it. So that's how I ended up with these skewers, so it'll be individual for your jar. And then I clip them so you see how it goes down like a V, and then the next one will go up and then down. It just zigzag. So what I did is I cut pieces from each of those little segments that I put together that were all those sizes, and I wrapped them up with twine so that I wouldn't lose my pieces. Then I opened one at a time, and I used my square ruler to put them in the right order of size, as you see here. Somehow when I was putting some of them on, I don't know how I did it, but I got some of them out of order. Whatever, it still came out cute, but if you really want it to be right, you'll just have to be super careful. I thought I was being careful, but apparently not. So I'm going to use some hot glue, and I'm going to start with the first one. And I'm lining them up on the bottom of the jar and then adding the next one, trying to go in the order of the design. And I'm just going to keep doing this with all those little bundles until I get it all the way around the jar. And it's such a cute little way to turn this basic jar into something very decorative. So I'll just let you watch. You can see I'm just going to do the same thing over and over. And there's one complete set. And there I am partway through. If you look closely, you'll see where my design got a little wonky. And there it is. I'll just make sure the good part is facing forward. And then I'm going to take my little nippers. I'm going to clip any pieces that were sticking out too far on the bottom because I want it to sit straight. Then I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and just kind of heavy dry brush all the way around it. Once that's done, I'm just going to tie a little ribbon around it that I had, and I'm going to put some peonies that I got on Amazon inside, and I think this is gorgeous. I just think it looks so pretty. It's kind of like modern farmhouse kind of boho. What do you think? Or tiles are so cool. This one had 4 in this pack that you could use, or actually you got to cut it out if you want to make it 4. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I've got this cute little palette from Dollar Tree that has a hanger on it already. It's just like a mini one. And I'm literally going to paint the whole thing with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I don't even need to paint the back, honestly, because it's going to hang on the wall. But I do paint the sides and those little pieces that you see underneath, because I do want to make sure that it just always looks white. But the back is the natural wood is a nice finish. And now I cut out that one piece, and I'm literally going to figure out the center, take off the backing, and just place it right on the center. I'm going to take some Mod Podge, and I'm going to cover the whole thing, and I use the matte Mod Podge. I'm just going to dry it real quick with my heat tool from Amazon. I've got some little greenery pieces that came off a pick from the Dollar Tree. And then I got these beautiful roses. I believe those are probably from Hobby Lobby. And I'm just going to hot glue the little greenery pieces right to the bottom. I'm basically making a swag. I didn't tie these together because they're very light and I know the hot glue will hold them. So that's what I decided to do there. And once I get both of the pieces on there, I'm going to take just one of the rosebuds and one of the little leaf sets that comes with it, and I will hot glue the little leaf. You know, they come together, they're like attached. There's like two or three leaves on there. I'll hot glue that in the middle and then hot glue the little rose right to the center of that, and you'll see what I'm doing right here.
I've been thinking about you more than ever. I guess I'm lonely. I'm starting to grow old, and I thought my youth would last forever.
I think those leaves are really pretty. That's why I wanted to keep them on there. This is the darker green against that lighter green. And then I'm going to take my little clippers and I'm just going to cut off the little pointy part on the back of the rose. I'm going to add hot glue there so it doesn't come apart, and then make sure I have enough hot glue there also to attach it right in the center of those three larger leaves.
Take me back to when we were kids and didn't care if we were acting stupid, 'cause all we had was us. If I close my eyes and think about us, I can see the person I know.
That's it. So easy, and this might be my favorite today. You'll have to let me know what you think.
I don't have no time to waste. I'm trying to come back to you because now I see we were meant to be.
These gorgeous flower decals. This little plank from Dollar Tree actually has a little twine attached to it, and I don't even have to take it off this time because we're only going to paint on the front and the sides. I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I'm just going to paint over each of the planks and around the edges and those little inside pieces you see. I don't even need to do the back on this one. Then I'm going to go around each of those edges because it was a little splintery, and I'm going to use a nail file from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to get in there and fix that. Then I'll take my little sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree and I'll lightly sand the front so I can lay down the decal without any little paint bumps. I'm only going to use one of those flowers. So I'm going to lay down some Mod Podge over the front. And then I'm going to take the decal and I'm just going to place it right on top. And don't worry about those slats. We will deal with that in just a minute. I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and I'm going to go in between those slats, and very slowly and very carefully I'm going to start cutting right at the edge. Sometimes you have to stab the little point just to get it started, because if you push too hard, it might rip. So I just go super slow. See how it's lifting up, and then I push it back down, and I just go really carefully. So I'm going to do them all on one edge first, and then turn it around and do the second side where you can remove it. So I'm showing you here when I'm doing both sides and how easy that just comes right out. I'm going to do that with all of the slats. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go in with my nail file again, and I'm just going to lightly sand so I can get off any excess paper from that decal that was there. And I'll do that in every single one of the slats. This is turning out gorgeous. I love that look with the slats. I'm going to cover the whole thing in Mod Podge just to seal it, and also go over those edges in case there's any like little fibers from the decal that are sticking up. This may be my favorites, but I think this just turned out beautiful. I'm going to take some greenery that I have gotten from Amazon a while back, and it should be in my Amazon store. And I'm just going to cut little pieces and position them where the greenery on the decal is, kind of bring it to life and give it more of a 3D feel. I think by doing this, it really adds a lot to kind of otherwise flat crafts. I just think it just gives it just that extra oomph, and it's a little more high end. Let me know what you think, or if you've ever done it. It's really a nice, easy thing to do. And I just think it's, like I said, it just brings it to life. And I think this one is just beautiful. It matches with so many things in my home too. You'll have to let me know what you think about it. Decal craft. I thought these were the cutest flowers. They're almost cartoon-like, you know, and that they're really cute. And I've got this little mini cutting board from the Dollar Tree, and you guys know how much I love cutting boards. I think I'm starting to have too many. I don't know. I may have to cut back. I can't stop myself, though. I really like them. I sanded it all the way around. It was a little rough. And then I sprayed it with my mister. Got that on Amazon too. And then I'm going to use the burnt umber apple barrel paint. And it looks like there's a lot, but I'm going to use all of that for the entire thing. I'm just going to get my brush, you know, saturated with it and keep drawing from the front and going around the edges. And then I'll wipe off the excess. And actually I did the back separately. I just realized that. And I will do that afterwards once this is dry. And then I'll just do the same thing. So here it is, all done. And it's so cute. It looks like stain, and it was paint, no smells, nothing. I'm going to put some Mod Podge over it before I add the little decals. These decals are so versatile. I have so many of them. If you guys like this, let me know, because I could make many more videos using them. So I'm going to put this big flower and I'm going to let it hang over the edge, and then a couple of the little flower petals I'm just going to set right on there. Now these are kind of thicker decals, so they didn't want to lay down as flat, so you'll see I had to kind of like get my brush underneath, make sure there was extra Mod Podge. I even took my finger and kind of pressed down to make sure that it would stick. Whatever it takes, we'll make it work. And then once I get this all over the top and part of the sides, I've got that edge hanging over, and I want it to be on there, so I'm going to fold it over and kind of make that crease a little sharper, putting the Mod Podge underneath and over. And then, because it won't lay flat because it's like a curved little edge, I'm going to take scissors and I'm going to cut one little slit right where kind of like the corner of that cutting board is, and that way I can lay it down. And you'll see here, it takes a little bit and some pressing down, but eventually I get it to stay. I think the stickiness just isn't enough for this cutting board, so that's why I had to use so much Mod Podge. On the other ones, it didn't require quite so much. You see how I'm just pressing that in as hard as I can, and I'm just going to put a lot of Mod Podge over it. And I didn't want to use the spray for this one because I needed the brush to help press it down, and the spray wouldn't have been able to do that. So here we are finishing up with the Mod Podge, and now it's finally laying down. And I'm just going to wrap a little of that golden white twine around it. And I think it's so cute, and it's going to look great with my little cutting board display that I keep changing up and adding to. How many cutting boards do you guys have? I think at this point I have at least 15, maybe. I don't know. There's so many. It's kind of getting crazy. Spot along with these little stickers. They look like tiles, and it came 2 in the pack for $5 with the cutting board. I'm just going to take off one of the little stickers, and you know, at first I thought they were white, but that's just the background. So whatever you put it on, it will show the background, and that looked really cute. So I just put the one on. I used my brayer to make sure it was nice and flattened out. And then I'm just going to take a nail file from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go around the edges and make sure I get rid of any excess going in a downward motion. I've got a stencil. Now, it's not adhesive. I do not have the best, I guess, luck with stencils that aren't adhesive. I taped it down. I did a dabbing motion. And I got to tell you, I don't know why, but I just can't seem to do a stencil like this. It's like a reusable stencil that isn't adhesive, but I can't do it without bleeding. I don't know. I've tried everything, but I actually did fix it, so I guess it's okay. But anyway, I'm going ahead and I'm just dabbing like you're supposed to and expecting really good results. And look, not so good. I probably should have done Mod Podge first, but I don't know, I just didn't. So I sanded a bunch of that excess away, and then I'm going to take a fine art brush and I'm going to go in and fix where I maybe got rid of too much. It went on, and I even used a little Dremel tool at one point to get between and around the letters. So I roughed up the little cutting board, which was kind of cute because it made it look a little bit rustic, which I'm okay with. Anyway, so that's done. And then I'm going to get this cute ribbon that I ordered on Amazon. It's just like a ticking stripe. I'm going to cut a little piece, hot glue it to the back and around, and it'll just be an extra little like decor around the neck of the cutting board.
Remember me, I remember you. I'm starting.
Now I've got this really pretty, well, I think it's pretty, nautical twine from the Dollar Tree. It's like mixed with white and regular twine color. And I'm just going to tie it around that neck and make a little knot in the front. And then I'll just trim the ends. And I just thought it was kind of cute hanging there. I didn't want to go too crazy with this one. Maybe I already did. I don't know.
To grow old, and I thought my youth would last forever. Take me back to when we were kids and didn't care if we were acting stupid, 'cause all we had was us.
And then I continue to sand a little more, just trying to get rid of any of the part where it's smudged a little. And I will cover the whole thing with Mod Podge. And that's it. I really like this one. You'll have to let me know what you think. Cutting board. It's a plastic one from the Dollar Tree. And then I've got this little piece of wood with chicken wire from Dollar General and this gorgeous napkin I got this year at the Dollar Tree. I really wanted a white one, but they didn't have it, so I'm just going to paint it white with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. It takes 2 coats. And for some reason I thought the camera was on and it wasn't, but I laid down some Mod Podge, put a piece of the napkin on, and used my brayer, and then I just used my fingers to like push down against the seam there. And I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and very gently cut around the edges. It's very hard because, you know, you can't see what you're doing underneath, but if you go nice and slow. So now I'm going to add some Mod Podge around all of those edges and over the entire top. And you'll see that it took off some of the paint. So I'm just going to get an art brush and go around and touch it up. I'm okay with it not looking perfect because we are going to distress this piece.
Remember me, I remember you. I've been thinking about you more than ever.
So after those touch-ups are made, I'm going to take that piece with the chicken wire. I'm just going to hot glue it right over the top of the cutting board, kind of like the middle of where the napkin is. It wasn't quite wide enough to go all the way over it, but that's okay. Again, we're gonna do a little bit of distressing here, and I think that's just gonna look fine. I love that look of the chicken wire over the top of the napkin. I'm gonna take a burnt umber, which is a apple barrel pink color, and I'm just gonna lightly go around, not a perfect covering. I kind of want it to look more like stained wood, but I did it with a brush. Came out pretty cute though. And I'm going to do the sides too, all the way around the edges there. And then I'm going to distress the cutting board. You can just see here, I'm doing like a little heavy dry brush on it, where you get some on your brush, wipe quite a bit of it off, and then just go around the edges and kind of, you know, scruff it up a bit, if you will. And I really love the way that looked. I've got these pieces of rope that were left over from something, so I thought instead of wasting them, I would just glue them on in pieces, and you'll see some of the ends here and there around the neck, but I like that look. It went along with the rustic, like maybe it was a little bit more worn out. And then I'm going to take some of the twine from the Dollar Tree and just go around the natural edge of the inside of that cutting board, just so it kind of defines it a little more, and you don't see right where the ends of the napkin were.
Guess I'm lonely. I'm starting to grow old, and I thought my youth.
And then I've got these really beautiful flowers from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut off just one little piece with the leaves, and I'm going to glue it right in there.
Would last forever.
And I think this looks beautiful, and I've already got it up in my kitchen, so you have to let me know what you think. I really like this one. Mason jar shape from the Crafter's Square at Dollar Tree. I really love it. I didn't end up using it as a mason jar. And then I've got this plastic cathedral window from Dollar Tree. I'm going to take the twine out of the top of the mason jar, and then I'm going to put the window over it. So I'm going to draw some lines so I know where to cut on the mason jar. I'm going to take my tin snips. This is a tool that I got on Amazon, and let me tell you, if you have arthritis or not strong in your hands, this is a wonderful tool. It came off like I was just cutting scissors, and it's a very sharp edge, so be careful, and the scraps that come off of it are sharp, so again, be very careful. And so now I want that to be what you see when you look through the window. I'm going to take off that little cardboard sign. I'm going to use my heat tool to heat up the glue and pull it off, and then I'm going to use a scraper tool to get the rest. I'm going to sand the entire front and sides of this because I'm going to paint it with my linen white Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I want this to look very farmhouse, and there's grain on that plastic, so it already kind of has a wood grain, and that makes it look a little distressed. Now I'm going to position what's left of the mason jar, which is most of it, on the back. I'm going to hot glue all the way around the edges. I don't want you to see the glue through the front of the cathedral window, and it's so light. Just the edges is great. But I didn't estimate there's still a little hanging over. Well, guess what? Those tin snips worked so well. I literally just went over that top part that's still sticking out, and it came right off. It was so easy. Honestly, this is a great tool to have in your arsenal. It's always in my Amazon store too, because I use this thing a lot. I'm going to take some hot glue and just put it over those very sharp edges to dull them, and that really works, and you don't really see it, but it keeps it safer. And I left the little hanger on there in case I want to hang it up. There it is. That part's all done, and that's pretty just the way it is, but I decided to take some greenery I had from Amazon and make a little swag. Now you could tie this together, or you could just glue it together like I did, and then glue it right on there. And I'm not going to use that flower you see to the left, even though it would be very pretty. I decided to go for these pink peonies that I also got on Amazon because they're just gorgeous and they match with some of the stuff I already have. So I cut off the stem, put a generous amount of hot glue, and glued it right there in between that greenery. You could decorate this any way you want, however it matches in your decor. I just love that pink peony. And that peony came with these cute little kind of pinkish greenery pieces, so I cut some of those off and put one on either side. And that's it. This was so easy and it's so beautiful. It's probably my favorite today. You have to let me know if you like it too. Metal DIY. I'm going to use actually two pieces of their metal. This cute little metal wreath welcome sign and the bottle cap one. And I got those both in the Crafter Square. I've got these, I think they're ranunculus, and then also these blossom ferns from the Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to do is take out the twine at the top of the welcome one, and I'm just going to take a fine art brush and I'm going to paint the word welcome in my linen white Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I'm going to leave the rest of it silver. So there you go. I did 2 coats. Now I'm going to start pulling off some of the greenery off of that blossom fern. I'm going to take 4 pieces and just kind of position them on the inside of the bottle cap. And I will hot glue them down just however I think would look pretty. There's really no right way to do this. I'm going to take some of those little blue flowers off of there. I'm just going to put them around, and I do need to put that welcome sign over it so I can see what's going to be blocked and what isn't. So I'm going to take some hot glue and I'm just going to go around and hot glue that top metal piece to the bottle cap bottom. And I'm going to do it in about 4 or 5 places just to get it on there nice and secure. There's nothing heavy. I'm not worried about it with bearing any weight, so this should be pretty simple to do. I'm going to take off the little, I always want to call them baby tulips, but I think they're ranunculus, and I'm probably even saying that wrong. I'm going to take the leaves off, and I'm just going to take the little bud and I'm put it in those 3 holes on the very bottom, just because I love the bright yellow, and I just think it looks really cute with the blue. Then I'm going to go back to those leaves. I'm going to take 2 and kind of put them on the bottom of those little yellow flowers, and one going one way and one going the other. And then I'm going to cut the 3rd one into 2 smaller leaves and have them pointing like downward. You'll see here what I'm doing. You see how I'm just cutting a leaf shape out of half of it, and I'll hot glue that down. I'll do the same thing to the other piece. If you are enjoying this video, I hope you will hit that like button to let me know to make more content like this. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love to have you here. I really enjoy your company, and it's such a fun community. We all chat with each other, and I know you will feel so welcome here. And be sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video. So I'm looking at it, it's a little off center, and I'm actually okay with that. I liked it at a diagonal. I'm going to go back and get some more of those blue flowers. I'm going to put some more where there's an opening, and at the very top where there's a few holes, and that's it. Talk about easy, and it's so cute. You could even put this on a big wreath right in the center. I think there's a lot of options with this one. If you have a small space too, that'll be nice. this metal Dollar Tree DIY is so easy. I've got this little corrugated piece of metal, it's a square, and this little wooden home sign from the Dollar Tree, and it's got a little red carnation. So I thought, let's make this patriotic. I'm going to take a little bit of my linen white Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I'm going to dry brush it on the metal very lightly. So put some on my brush, dab most of it off, and then just drag it across. And there it is. You could do more or less. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the gray H, M, and E of this sign. And I'm going to do the inside and the edges as well. Very, very light dry brush. I actually ended up doing a little bit more than light, but I like the way it looks. Now I'm going to pull that flower off. You could use a heat tool if it's sticking really well, but it's just glued in there. Kind of straighten up that little hole so I can put it back. And I'm going to take my ocean colored Waverly chalk paint. And I'm going to do a couple coats and I'm going to do just the O on this little sign. I thought that turns it into kind of a red, white, and blue piece, even though there's gray on it, but there's also gray on the metal piece. So I think that just goes really nicely together. I'm just using an angled art brush to get into all those places so I don't make a mess, and I'm going really slow so that I don't hit any other parts of this. I'm going to dry it off with my heat tool, and then I'm going to cover the entire home's little block with some Mod Podge just to seal it in. Now once that's done, I'm going to take the little flower, put some hot glue on the back, and you see it's got a stem there. It'll fit right in that hole, and literally that puts that sign back together, and now it's got that patriotic look that I love, and it's still pretty any time of year. I think we're just going to hot glue it on the corrugated parts that face upward, because there's no point in putting it on the other ones because it won't touch the back of the sign. I kind of looked at it to see where it would touch, and I added that, and that's it. Glued it right on there. You could use E6000 with this just to make sure it'll stay. I'm not too worried about it, but it's definitely an option, and we'll definitely hold it there. I love how it turned out. You'll have to let me know what you think. You know how much I love cutting boards. I've got this metal truck from the Dollar Tree from the Crafter's Square section, and this cute cutting board from the Target Dollar Spot. And I'm going to use the side that doesn't have those little like flowers on it. I used a 150 grit sandpaper just to sand all around the entire thing. I've got this butcher block conditioner from Amazon. I learned about this stuff from my friend Courtney at Creative on the Cheap, and what it does is it has a mineral in it that exceeds the requirements for using with food items. So you can condition your wood with this, and then it's food safe. Courtney is full of helpful tips, so I'll link her channel down below in case you're interested. So I'm going to cover every part of it. Then I'm going to go back to the metal truck, and I'm going to take out the twine at the top. I'm going to take some masking tape. I'm out of painter's tape, but honestly masking tape works well. And I'm just going to make a little square in the middle of the back side of my truck. I don't want those lines that were on the front. And I'm going to take kind of like a stiff stippling brush with my ocean blue Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to start stippling a square in the upper corner of this square. And then I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I'm going to stipple all the rest of that square with the white. Then I'm going to take my lacquer paint from Waverly, and I'm going to take a smaller brush, and I'm going to stipple stripes. So basically it's going to look like a square version of our flag. But it's so easy because you don't have to be very exact because you're stippling. And the tape will give you nice clean edges. So once I have that on there the way that I like, then I'm going to take the other end of a small paintbrush in the white paint, and I'm just going to start putting some little dots, and I'll dry it with my heat tool. I'm not going to go for perfection on the stars. There's not 50. I'll cover the whole thing with my Mod Podge once it dries, and then I will remove the tape. And I know it's so satisfying. Don't you love it? And I've got this just cute little flag in the middle of my truck. You can still see it's a truck, but I didn't want to get all hung up on that. I just want it to look like a truck with a flag on the back. Now I'm going to position it on the back side of that cutting board. Once I have it where I want, and I'm going to put hot glue all along the back. Now I did this on purpose. That way if I wanted to remove it, I could and change it out for something else. And so now we're just going to take that truck, turn it around and center it again, and put it flat on the cutting board. So easy. Now I've got those holes in the upper right hand corner. So I found some really pretty silvery glittery type stars in my stash. I took 4 of them and I put 4 on. I hot glued them on. And that took care of that. And I think it goes with that 4th of July, patriotic theme. And this was so quick and easy. You could put this together on the back of any cutting board you have. And you could do it with any piece of metal. I just used the truck because I had one. I tied the twine at the top, and that's it. How cute and easy and a nice addition to my cutting board collection. Let me know what you think of this idea. That usually have the drawers in them from the Dollar Tree, and 2 of these little teeny cutting boards I got at Hobby Lobby on 40% off clearance. They're adorable. And then I always save little pieces of things that I don't use, so I've got a chicken, a tractor, and then this little like half circle shape. And these were literally such a good price. They were $3.99 each, but 40% off. And I'm going to use the plaster color chalk paint from Waverly and the truffle color chalk paint from Waverly. Now, one of these boxes was already painted white previously, but I'm going to sand the other 2 down, and I'm still going to go over them with the plaster color because it's just off-white. And I know that other white will look different if I don't cover it. I'm going to paint all 3 boxes, inside, outside, bottom, everything. And then I'm going to sand down my little pieces. I'm going to paint the half circle plaster on both sides, and then just the back of the chicken and the tractor with the plaster color as well. Next, I'm just going to kind of play around with them and determine where I would like to place them. So I've decided I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and liquid adhesive to put the chicken and the tractor on the 2 outside boxes. And I'm going to wait to add the little half circle. Now I'm going to take the truffle and a foam brush and just very lightly touch all of the edges, the entire box, every possible edge there is. And I'm just loving that little farmhouse antiquing look that it gives. Kind of goes into the wood a little bit, so it's like not a clean line. And then I just added a little bit to the edges of those pieces and around the middle, very lightly dry brush. So now I can go ahead and figure out the placement of the half circle. Now I'm going to take that liquid adhesive and the hot glue and attach all 3 boxes to each other. So that way I've got one piece now going forward. Then I'm going to cut up some cardboard to lift up that middle piece because I can't get it on there without it interfering with the chicken and the tractor. And by doing this, it kind of puts it slightly above it, and then I can get some glue on the back and attach it, and that really makes a huge difference. So if you're ever working with pieces that don't lay the same, this is a great way. Just kind of paint the edges of the cardboard like I did with the truffle, and it will just be hidden and you really won't even notice it. Next, I'm going to take last year's farmhouse calendar. I'm going to go to the back of it and cut out this cute little picture that just says Farm Fresh. I'm going to trim it down to size so that it fits right on that little half circle. And I'm going to use that liquid adhesive on the back, and I'm just going to put it on there and then get my brayer out and make sure every piece of it is touching the surface. And it's super, super cute. I'm going to distress around the edges of that, and I got a little too much on there, so I just quickly grabbed a baby wipe and I was able to clean it up right away. Now I'm going to take my little cutting boards and get rid of the tags, and I'm going to do a tight bond, which is like a heavy duty wood glue, and I'm going to put that on both sides and then a little bit of hot glue just to get it to stick for right now so that I can keep working. And it's a little wider than the 3 boxes, but because I have some pieces hanging over on the front, I had to let the extra go to the back. You really won't notice it. Now I'm going to take a big piece of twine, it's a little thicker, make a knot, put a little drop of hot glue. I'm going to wrap some tape around the edge of my twine. I'm going to put some of the bigger beads on there. They're just natural. I'm not going to paint them. I got them on Amazon. Really good deal. I'm going to put just enough to make it to the other side, and then I'm going to string the twine right through, make another knot, and then add a dab of hot glue to make sure it stays in place. And now I have a cute little farmhouse handle for this caddy. You could use this for so many different reasons, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Goodwill. It's just this little sign. It was $3, and it's made out of like tin, and then it's got a little bottle in that holder. I'm also going to use some lace and a couple of napkins that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to clean this with some rubbing alcohol to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And I'm just going to remove the plies and then just cut out little elements from each of these napkins. So I'm going to get a bird and a couple of flowers, and I am going to Mod Podge them directly onto the bottle. I just want to give it a little more of an interesting, kind of a shabby chic look.
It's a hard thing to know.
Sometimes when we Mod Podge, we'll put the entire napkin or the entire tissue paper or scrapbook paper. But I think it's okay to take little elements and mix them in and just put them on, especially if you're going for a look like this. I think it's just really fun to play around and try different things. Don't be afraid to try new things. You have nothing to lose. I've got that wider piece of lace, and what I'm going to do is cut it down to size, and I'm just going to make it a little piece that you stick in behind the bottle when you put the bottle back in, just to add a little of that lacy feel to it and that feminine touch. And I think it's cute. I mean, this really, I didn't have to sew, I just hot glued it down. This really could not be any easier. I'm going to take a little bit of this really pretty yarn that I got at Walmart, and I'm just going to tie it around the neck of the bottle, around the threads, and make a cute little bow. I just really wanted to add just that extra little touch, and I put the florals in from the Dollar Tree right into the bottle. Again, super simple, you guys. This is just so basic and easy, and I would say even if you found a piece that looked different than this, anything that you could put the flowers in or that you could Mod Podge on, it would work. This was so fun. Super cute. Iron-on transfer from the Dollar Tree, and the instructions are always on the back, by the way, but they are telling you to use fabric, so I figured it out using other surfaces when I needed to. And then I've got these 3 ribbons. They're all from the Dollar Tree, and they match the colors. And this cute little house that I got at the Target dollar spot for $3. It's really cute with the little slats of wood. So I'm going to put my transfer where I want it, use the little iron, and go ahead and just do it for like 40 seconds all over, take it off. And then I'm going to cover the whole thing with Mod Podge because I just want to seal it. And I'm only doing that white part of the house. I have this cute jute ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It has a lace look to it. I'm going to cut 2 pieces that fit the size of the roof line of the house. And I'm just going to use some Beacon Fabric Tack glue to attach it right to the top. If you are enjoying this video, I would love it if you could hit the like button. Not only does it tell me that you like this kind of content, but it also lets YouTube know to show my video to other people, and that would be awesome. So thank you. Now that I've got the roof line on there, I'm going to take the 2 ribbons. One was kind of a sheer pink and one was like a green. I'm going to make a little awareness ribbon and then bring down the top to the center. And I'm going to tie in the middle with this twine. I thought that looked really cute on there. And I'm just going to tie a knot.
Gonna stay in this moment. Gonna lay here on it.
I'm going to take another little piece of that jute ribbon and I'm just going to cover the center with it. I thought that would look really pretty and tie it all together. I'm going to dovetail the ends of my ribbon and then cut off those pieces of twine that were left behind. I hadn't done that yet. I'm going to take some hot glue and put it right at the top of the house. So you could stop right here. Honestly, you could even not put a bow if you don't want to. You could stop at any point, whatever suits your decor and your desire. I'm going to add some of the greenery that I have on hand, just little pieces, and I'm just going to put 2 on each side. I thought that would be really pretty. Now, you guys know me. Sometimes I just need to stop, and other times I keep going anyway. I did do one more thing. You certainly don't have to do this if it's too much for you, but I added 2 more of those little pieces of greenery, tied them together with this twine, and then I'm just going to hot glue it to the center of the very bottom of the house.
I don't need to feel lonely. I am finally home at last.
And then I add a little pink rose, and I really love how it turned out. I hope you guys like it too. Beautiful canister at the Dollar Tree. I love the way it looks. I love the top. I love the pattern in the glass. It's so pretty. I'm not going to use that little puck light. I'm going to use some fairy lights instead. I changed my mind at the last minute. But I do have a piece of like a faux leather word grateful from the Dollar Tree and a little bit of scrap burlap that I cut out to fit around the jar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hot glue the burlap all the way around the jar. I'll start at one spot and I'll kind of just put it here and there, but I'm first going to fray the top and the bottom because I love that look. This is going to turn into a pretty rustic looking, light up kind of a jar decor, and I think it's so pretty. I think you could use this all year round, but I also think it would be really pretty around Thanksgiving. So, you know, you can use it whenever you want. I'm grateful all year round, so I don't want to wait just for Thanksgiving. I'm sure you feel the same way. So I'm just going to attach that, as I said, and I'm putting very little glue, very, very little glue, because I don't really need a lot for this to stick. If you're enjoying this video, I hope that you will hit the like button. That lets me know that you enjoy this kind of content, but it also lets YouTube know that they should show my videos to more people, and I sure would appreciate that, so thank you. I'm going to take some Beacon Fabric Tack glue. I'm going to put it all around the back of that little grateful sign. And the reason I'm doing it like this is I can control how much comes out. I won't get any glue webs from hot glue. Sometimes this is just the way to go. Or you could use tacky glue too, but it's sort of like a fabric kind of thing, so I decided to use this one. So once I get that all on there, I'm just going to literally lay this across the burlap. And I'm doing this on the opposite side from where the two ends met. That way this is the front and that would be the back. Now I've got these fairy lights that I get on Amazon. I think there's either 8 or 10 in a pack, very reasonably priced. They even come with their own batteries. I mean, this is a very good deal. I always have these in my Amazon store in case you are looking for something like this. So I'm just going to turn it on and put it in there because I want to see what it looks like as I'm putting this together. And I'll put most of it in, but then when I get to put the lid on, I will try to push some of that up into the top of the lid because it's hollow, and I think that would be pretty to see some of the light in there as well. I love that. Isn't that pretty with those lights? It's kind of light there, you can't tell, but I've got some scrap greenery here, and I'm just going to cut it up and hot glue it around just below the lid. I thought that it needed just a little something extra, and this to me was the perfect touch. So I hope you guys like this one. I like it too. Another very easy glass Dollar Tree DIY. So much fun to make these. This gorgeous spring rub-on transfer set from Dollar Tree. 3 little succulent containers and some votive candle glass containers. I believe everything here came from the Dollar Tree. And I just heated up the back to remove the tags, and I'm going to lightly sand all around the outside of my 3 little containers. I'm going to that Sage Home Decor paint, 2 coats to cover everything but the inside, and then I'm going to add a coat of Mod Podge to seal them. Now I'm going to look at the transfer and kind of measure and see what I want. I'm only going to do it on one side of the little containers. And they're actually going to be one sitting right side up and the other 2 are going to be sitting upside down. You'll see what I mean here. And of course, I'm just going to rub on the transfer carefully. And then as I remove them, I'll make sure that it's adhered. Otherwise, I'll rub a little harder and get the rest of it off. And then kind of rub it into the little container. And I'll do the same thing with all 3 of these. This particular rub-on transfer set is just gorgeous. I love the florals. If you are not subscribed to my channel, I would like to invite you to do so. I would be happy to have you here. So now that I've got all 3 of my containers good to go with the rub-on transfers, I'm going to put 2 of them together so the tops will be glued together, and they're so light I'm just going to use hot glue on these. You could use E6000 if you're concerned though. And they fit together very nicely. And then I'm going to take some very thin twine from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to wrap it around where the seam is where they meet. That way kind of make it look more finished. And I'm going to wrap that around 2 times before I'm done here.
I remember you. I've been thinking about you more than ever. I guess I'm lonely. I'm starting to grow old.
Now I'm going to take the single one and I'm just going to wrap around right at the very, well, it's the bottom now, but it would have been the top. And there you go. Aren't they cute? And then I'm going to take some E6000 and hot glue combination so that I can glue those little glass votives right on top. And that is it. Talk about easy. And then I'm going to put some little battery operated little votive candles in there. oh my gosh, this is so, so cute. And it would just look really cute on a shelf or on a tier tray, wherever you want. Let me know what you think. When you can get 2 items for the price of 1 at Dollar Tree. So I've got the salt and pepper shaker. I've got some really pretty lavender that I got at Pop Shelf. And then I've got some Dollar Tree twine ribbon, some coastal twine from Dollar Tree, a really pretty kind of mauve colored ribbon. And I didn't end up using the blue and white one after all. The first thing I'm going to do is take off the lids to the salt and pepper shakers. We will not need them. Now I'm going to take my kind of twine lace kind of looking ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to put it around one of them, kind of like, I don't know, just below the top, and then I'm going to do one more just above the bottom. You'll see in a second. And I just kind of put little dabs of glue here and there so that it won't slide around, and at the end I cut it, and now here I'm doing the second one. I'm doing the exact same thing. This ribbon is so pretty. I just love the combination of that kind of lighter color with the regular jute color. Now that I've got that on there, I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to just do one ribbon around this one. I'm just going to be doing it kind of below the top there. I'm just going to attach it the exact same way that I did with the other one. I love this ribbon. It almost like has a velvety feel to the top of it. I think I got it at Walmart. I can't remember. I'm going to take that coastal twine that has the twine color and kind of the off-white, and I'm going to put one strand around the top of that ribbon and one strand around the bottom. And I really like the look that it gave it. I think these are going to be super cute and very rustic. So there they are. And now I'm going to add a twine bow to both of them. I'm going to use that nautical or coastal twine from the Dollar Tree. Just going to put a little dot of hot glue in the back so I can tie my just very simple shoelace bow. And then I will trim the little tails on it on both of them and do the exact same thing. I'm going to put one higher than the other just to make them look slightly different. This could not be easier. Is this even a DIY? I'm not sure. But if you're looking for something super fast and easy to do, just add a little bit of decor. Could look really cute on a tier tray or next to something on a shelf. I just think this is so cute, and I love when things are this easy. You could just do them, you know, in 5 or 10 minutes. So easy. So I'm going to take some of that lavender. I'm just going to snip some little pieces, and I'm going to put them in the one, salt and pepper shaker. And then I have another set of greenery that I got. It was off of a pick from the Target Dollar Spot, and it just thought it looked perfect with that pink ribbon. And I just put that right in there. That's it. We're done. You can't get easier than this. I've got this beautiful picture that I designed in Canva and then I printed with my sublimation printer. And then I've got 7, is that 7, 8? I guess I started with 8, and then I'm going to add 2 more pieces of paint stir sticks. I know you guys have been wanting to see some DIYs with paint stir sticks. So I'm just going to cut off the curvy end on 2 of them after I've laid all of them next to each other. And I'm going to glue this to the back to hold them all together. It's just a really easy way instead of gluing in between every single one. And now I'm just going to cut another one the exact same size. And I used my miter shears to cut those. And you'll always find anything I mentioned that's a good tool that I love in my Amazon store if that's where I got it. So now I'm just going to put this face down, and I'm using sublimation paper too. So you got to put it on the coated side. You lay it on top of the wood, put a piece of parchment paper over it, and then I'm going by the specifications of the sublimation paper. It said to put, somewhere between 400 degrees and 40 seconds. And then I've got my little partner over here, Bella, sitting in her bed watching me and not eating her food, of course, but she likes to be there right next to me. Off camera, I removed the paper from the top. So I put a few more supports on the back with those extra pieces I cut off. And I've got this beautiful kind of mauve colored ribbon. It's almost like velvet on top. I cut 2 pieces and I'm going to put one across the bottom and one across above the bird. And that's just going to be kind of a nice little border. And I'll just put some hot glue underneath it and then around the back. And I'm going to do that same thing with the other piece that I cut. And you'll see that right there. Then I'm going to take my ballet slipper Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to water down my brush and I'm going to very lightly dry brush, barely even dry brush, over all of the wood pieces. I thought of doing this after the fact. That's why the ribbon was already there. But you know, sometimes things evolve as you're being creative. It's like a pink wash. And then I've got these pics from Walmart and I just cut off little pieces and whatever I did to one side, I did to the other, you know, like it's almost like a mini swag. I just didn't tie them together. I just hot glued them. And then there's some pieces that have these little berries on them and I'm going to put those in the middle. Using my heat press to put that sublimated design on the wood is just such a beautiful way to decorate, you know, plain stir sticks. I can't believe how easy it was to do. And I did put a piece of twine on the back with some masking tape like I always do to hold the hanger. And I think that does a really good job of that. But I still kind of felt like it needed something else. So I added a gorgeous pink flower and I believe that came from the Dollar Tree. And I just cut that off, put some glue on it and put it right in the center. And I think that just really finishes this one off. I love this one. Let me know what you think. Sublimated design. It's mirrored. You always have to mirror things when you either use heat transfer vinyl or sublimation because it's in reverse. And it says One Nation Under God. And then I got this huge amount of fabric at a thrift store for $2. It's almost looks like a drop cloth, but it's not. And then I'm going to use 2 of these larger paint stir sticks. I had already cut off the curvy ends on these for something else. So I'm just going to measure how wide I need them to be. And then I'm going to take my little miter box. I'm going to clamp down the stir stick because otherwise it's really hard to hold this still. And then I'm just going to take the saw and I'd already drawn the line. I'm just going to saw that piece right where I need it. And I'll do that with both of them. And I'll use the first one to measure the second one. That way it'll be, you know, very accurate. I'm going to sand down the edges where I cut. And then I'm going to cut out a piece of the fabric by ripping it. I'll start with a cut and then rip. And I measured how big it needed to be based on the design and the stir sticks. You could make this any size you want based on, you know, your design and then the size of the wood that you're going to use. And I love that ripped frayed look. So that's why I chose to do that. It gives it a little bit more of a rustic feel. And there it is. And now I'm going to just go ahead and heat it up a little bit in the heat press. You should always do that with your material that's fabric first. And then I'll take it out and I will lay my design face down on it. And that's why it was mirrored, so it'll come out the right way when you sublimate it. Now, sublimation isn't like heat transfer vinyl. It actually gets into the fibers of the fabric or the wood or whatever it is. I'm going to lay down my parchment paper, go with the recommended settings for sublimation, and as soon as it's done, it will stop, and then the bottom, well actually the top will lift up. You can pull it out. Of course, it's very hot. You have to be very careful. And then I just pulled that piece of paper off, and there it is. Look how beautiful that came out. So now I'm going to attach the stir sticks with some Beacon fabric tack glue. This isn't heavy, so I figured that would be sufficient enough. And then I'm going to take my ocean colored Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to get the wood wet with my mister and I'm going to kind of do a very light watery coat on both of the pieces of wood all around the edges, and that way I'll have just a really pretty nice blue kind of patriotic feel to this one. I'll dry that with my heat tool so it'll go faster. And then I'm just going to add a piece of twine and masking tape to the back to make a hanger like I always do. I'm going to take some white chalk paint and I'm just going to lightly paint in the stars with a art brush, and it turned out gorgeous. Let me know what you think. side of a Dollar Tree canvas, just the frame, some skewers from Dollar Tree, and some tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to take my sanding sponge and I'm going to just make sure that all of the edges are nice and splinter free, and I'm going to clean up any of the dust left behind with my Ladybug vacuum, and all of my tools are down in my Amazon store, so feel free to check it out in case you need some. I'm going to use my Kills white primer and I'm going to paint this entire frame, back, front, inside, all everywhere, just the whole entire thing. I'm going to use my heat tool so I can dry this quickly and move on to the next step. I'm creating a little mini window, and so for the pane dividers I'm going to use these little skewers. At first I'm just going to tape them down and paint them in that same white paint, front and back. Then I'm going to take my tumbling tower blocks and I'm going to paint those as well, just the parts that you're going to see. And now I'm going to figure out where I'm going to be placing them all. I'm going to create a little window box for florals. It's going to be so cute when this is done. I'm just positioning everything, and then I'm going to start hot gluing it to the actual frame and creating my little box. Once all of the pieces are in place, I'm going to go back in with the hot glue in the underside and just kind of reinforce every seam so that it's nice and secure. Now I'm doing the next level, which is going to be the very front, and I'm going to put them vertically, and then again reinforcing wherever I can. I don't think I need anything stronger than hot glue because I'm just putting light florals in here, but if you were putting something heavier, I would suggest a more permanent, stable glue. Next, I'm going to take my 4 skewers and I'm going to figure out exactly how long they need to be to put 2 vertical and 2 horizontal to make my little panes for the window. And I'm just going to use my little snips to go ahead and cut them to size, and then I'm going to hot glue them down and do the vertical ones, and then I'm going to do the horizontal ones. And this is so easy. They're definitely secure. I put hot glue under and over each of the ends of the skewers, so there's no question that this is staying in place. Next, I'm going to very lightly dry brush some Antique Wax by Waverly over all of the white surfaces. And basically, I'm going to put a little bit on my brush, wipe most of it off, and then just kind of drag it around the edges and just wherever I want to see a little bit of distressing. Like I said, this is going to be a very, very light dry brush. I just want a little bit of an effect of it not being like stark white. I always save styrofoam whenever I get something in a package, so I'm just going to cut a little teeny rectangular piece of this very messy styrofoam, and I'm going to hot glue it into that little window box that I created. And then I'm going to take some really cute Dollar Tree florals, and I'm just going to snip them all to make them the right size, and I'm going to start putting them inside of this styrofoam, and it just looks so cute already. Oh my gosh, I love these colors, I love this pick, and this is just turning out so, so cute. I'm going to add some of these cute little off-white flowers. I think it's just the right touch with the purple and the yellow and the green, and like I said, I'm just really loving this. And then I'm going to take some jute cord from the Dollar Tree, and I'm literally going to hot glue it to the back and wrap it around kind of crisscross, and then I'm going to push it around and kind of shape it the way I want it. This is just to add that little farmhouse touch to it, and I absolutely love how this looks. I had a Goodwill find that had this little burlap flower on it, and I took it off. I figured I'd save it, and guess what? It's perfect for this DIY. It's going to hot glue it right to the center, and literally that really makes this one so cute. Now I'm going to take a little bit of craft paper to cover up that back area because I don't want you to see any of my styrofoam or any of the mess. I'm just going to hot glue it and trim the edges, and then I'm going to make a little hanger out of jute cord, and this one's done. And you guys, I love it. I think it's so cute. You can hang it. It can be like sitting on a shelf, whatever you want, just like bringing a little bit of outdoors indoors, and it's just so cute in farmhouse. I hope you guys like it. Let me know. DIY is super rustic and very inexpensive and easy to do. I have some sticks that my husband gathered for me from our yard, and I'm just figuring out the right ones that I want to make a ladder out of. So I needed 2 really thicker long ones and then 4 that would go across that weren't quite as thick. So I'm figuring that out right now out of all the sticks that I do have. And then I'm going to use my tin snips and I'm going to cut off all the rough edges, which I will have a link for that in my Amazon store down below. And they work really well for that, by the way. And I'm going to use my little ladybug vacuum to clean up all the little debris, and there's a link for that too in my store. And now I'm just kind of placing everything to see if I need to trim some more, which I got out my little handy dandy saw from the Dollar Tree, and I struggle with that thing, but I did get the job done. And so now I am going to cut some rope, and this rope is like a double ply, if you will, so I'm going to separate it and I'm going to use the single ply part of it because there's no reason to waste all of that rope. And I'm going to hot glue all the pieces in place so that they don't move around while I'm trying to tie the rope around. And I'm literally just going to put the rope underneath, tie a single knot, hot glue it down, and then wrap it around each side and hot glue that down, and then trim the edges. And I'm going to do that for all 8 intersections. So I cut 8 pieces of that rope. And then I also cut 4 pieces of the rope to go on the very ends of the longer pieces, which you will see shortly. And I'm going to wrap those around and hot glue them as well. And I decided that I wanted to use my antique wax on the twigs because I wanted it to look a little darker, and I really like the way that looks. So I applied it to every single part, and then I took a paper towel and I rubbed off all of the excess so it wasn't like super, super dark. And here I am now going back in and doing the ends of the long pieces of the ladder just so it has a little bit of a more finished look. I really love the size of this ladder. I can place it in so many different parts of my home and style it all different ways. And I don't have anything like this, so I'm really excited and I hope you guys like it. About this DIY. I'm using an old book and it's a diet book. What I'm going to do is show you how to fold this to make a book page vase. I'm going to do it 3 times. So you're going to fold the bottom corner up, and then you're going to take that whole piece and fold it to the spine. And then that little triangle at the top you're going to fold over and then tuck it underneath. And you're going to do that every other page. And then try to push it way down because it's going to really need to be pushed down as you go. The next one, you're going to take the top and fold that corner down to the spine. Then you're going to take that bottom right corner and just fold it up to the line of the other fold, and then take the little triangle point and fold it to the end of the paper of the bottom fold. Literally, you're going to do this every other page for the entire book. My book was about 300 pages, so depending on how big you want this to be, that's how it would go. And I'm not going to show you every page I'm folding, obviously, but I'm going to show you various stages as I go. You can see it's starting to look like a vase. And I wanted to show you that if you didn't want to do a full vase, you could put like on a piece of cardboard or on a frame, you could just do like a half one, and that would be kind of a cool wall hanging. Anyway, I'm also going to link the person who I learned how to do this from. It was from a YouTube video from a lady who mostly does crocheting, but I really loved her technique, so I will make sure to put a link for that in my description box. And I'm showing you the spine there because you really want to fold that in and get it as tight as possible. I'm using this amazing netted ribbon from burlapfabric.com, and I will have a link down in my description box for this. And I'm just rolling it, literally just rolling it and then kind of looping it as I roll so it's not a tight roll. And then I'm going to cut it off at the end and just turn it into a flower, and it kind of has like a rose-like look. And literally, I made this up. You could just do it any way you want. I just had this idea that it would work. The ribbon does have wire in it, and that's why it's possible to kind of shape it. So once I get that completely shaped and kind of fluffed the way I want, I'm going to take a little piece of jute twine and I'm going to just tie it around the bottom to secure it so that it doesn't fall apart. Next, I'm going to take some burlap that I got at Walmart, and I'm just going to cut off a little strip, and I'm going to pull off all of the strings going the long way up to right close to that seam on the other end. And then I'm making this one up too, by the way. I'm just going to roll it and just kind of, roll it back and forth, maybe a little, twist it a little bit, and literally just kind of make a wildflower looking thing. I'm just trying to make a bunch of really rustic kind of flowers out of the rope and the burlap and that kind of stuff, just to make it, really kind of cool and maybe a little bit vintage-ish looking. Vintage-ish, is that a word? I don't know. I think I made it up. Oh well. So I'm just trimming the top, giving it a little haircut. And then I'm going to take some more of the jute twine and I'm going to wrap it around 4 fingers, like you're going to make either a tassel or a pom-pom. And I think I wrapped it around like 15 times. And then I'm going to cut it off and I'm going to tie another piece right across the middle. And I am actually going to do this twice. And then what I'm going to do is lay them across each other and make a flower that way. Now I'm going to take this really pretty, very thin kind of ombre tone yarn I got at Walmart, and I'm going to wrap it around each petal back and forth across the middle and just kind of give it a little color because I thought that would be fun too. Once I've secured that, I'm going to cut off the excess thread and I'm going to fluff my flower, all the little loops all the way around. I took some flower pieces that I had around and just pulled off really small pieces and hot glued them to the center of some of the flowers that I made using the twine and the burlap. I just thought that would be really fun. And now I'm making another flower, and I actually got this idea from Leonette at DIY Beauty on Purpose. She did this in one of her videos, and I'll link her down below as well, where she pulled out the long threads between the 2 edges, so you don't take it all the way to the edge, but you see how the edges have seams. And then I'm going to take the bottom and hot glue it up to the other edge all the way across the piece, and then I'm going to roll it and hot glue it, and it makes such a pretty flower. And I did want to give her credit for that. Now I'm going to fluff it, and then I'm going to add a little piece of a yellow flower right into the center, and I just love the look that this gives with these flowers to add the color. And I'm just going to add a few more little flowers to the center of this one. And now I'm going to make another one, but this time I'm just going to wrap it around 3 fingers. I think I did 15 times again. And I'm going to tie the middle like I did before. I made 2 of these. And after I'm done, I'm going to actually cut the loops open this time to make a little bit of a different looking kind of a flower. I'm going to lay them across each other like I did with that other flower, and then I'm just going to fluff it out after I hot glue it, and there's that flower. And I'll add something to the center also to give it a little bit of color. I've got this cute little pick of off-white flowers from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add those to the center, so it's going to be attached to the inner spine. And then I've got this leftover pick of lavender that I took the lavender pieces off of, and on the ends I'm going to add all of the different flowers that I made out of the burlap and the twine, and that way it'll look like it's coming off of a stem with leaves, and I just love the way that looks. And I'm going to hot glue it into the spine so it stays put, and then I'm going to add those other flowers that I showed you first, and I'm going to hot glue those as well, and that way they won't go anywhere. Now if you wanted to change this out seasonally, I wouldn't hot glue then. I would just stick them in there and maybe put some tape or something. And now I added 2 different kinds of very sheer ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I just thought that would be very pretty and light. And then I'm going to take this really cute lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree and just wrap it around the center of my little bow, and I just did a very basic, shoestring string bow. And I'm gonna cut the ends of my bow with dovetails, and that is it. I absolutely love how this turned out, and I'm actually giving it to my mom for Mother's Day because she is quite the avid book reader. I hope you guys like it. For this Dollar Tree calendar hack, I'm going to use this 2022 farmhouse calendar, and that is actually the picture I'm going to use. It was one of the months. And then I've got this piece that I got from the Goodwill. I got it for $3.99, plus it was a pink tag day, so I got some 10% off. I'm going to clean it with my crud cutter, and then I'm going to cover the whole top with the plaster color paint by Waverly. I love that color. It's perfect for something rustic. It's not stark white. Then I'm going to take antique wax and this old makeup brush that I got at the Dollar Tree a long time ago that's seen better days, but it's perfect for dry brushing, where you put a little bit on your brush, wipe most of it off, and then kind of drag it across, and it gives it that old aged, weathered look, which is what I'm going for here. I'm just going to go ahead and go around the edges and make sure that those are a little bit distressed as well, and it kind of bleeds over to the front. Then I'm going to take my square ruler, and I'm going to measure every 1.5 inches. I'm going to put a little spot. I'm going to do it on each of the ends and in the middle because my square isn't as long as this piece, and I want to be able to draw straight lines. And I'm going to use the pencil and basically draw shiplap lines. And then I'm going to just take my finger and smudge the pencil. And if it gets too dark, you can go back in with a little, paper towel, just kind of damp, and wipe off the excess, which I do. And then, because I didn't want it to be quite that dark, I'm going to go back over with that plaster, just lightly dry brushing it over the top to mute out a little bit of those lines. I'm going to fussy cut out the word farmhouse. See, it took a while, but it was well worth it. And I'm also going to cut out the wreath. I am going to go back and cut out the center of the wreath as well. I'm going to use my Mod Podge. I'm just going to start laying down the Mod Podge and then placing my letters over it. A couple of them broke apart, so I have to put them on individually. But this is something you can do if you don't have a cutting machine and you don't like the font on stickers, but you love the font on the calendar page. So I just thought this was so cute. I loved it. And then I'm just going to put Mod Podge all over the top, and that is that for the word. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the wreath, but I'm going to turn this into a 3D wreath. I'm going to use some actual greenery and embellish it. But now I'm going to go all over the whole rest of the sign with the Mod Podge because I want it all to have a nice seal on it. Now I'm going to take these little boxwood pieces, and then I've also got some other little picks. I think one of them is eucalyptus, I think. I always say the wrong one. Anyway, you guys know what they are, right? I'm going to start hot gluing them on. I clip the pieces off the pick, and then I have all these little extra pieces that I'm going to fill in with. And that way you get a couple colors, and look how cute it is. I love this one. I think it turned out so cute. You have to tell me what you think. I love adding something to a flat sign and making it kind of three-dimensional. It just gives it just a little more interest, and it looks like a real wreath is on there. And yeah, of course I could have done that, but I like the way I'm using this Welcome Spring sign from the Dollar Tree and this really cool twine I got from burlapfabric.com. Again, the information is going to be down in my description box. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my Kills white primer. I love this stuff. And I'm going to paint the entire back with one coat of it. I'm not going to go crazy and cover it real heavily. I don't mind if a little bit shows through, because what I'm going to do next is use my antique wax, a combination of that by Waverly and burnt umber by Apple Barrel Paints, and make a faux wood grain look. The key to this is making sure your strokes all go in the direction that you want the wood grain to go in. So in my case, I'm going up and down, and I'm starting off with lighter, amounts, and then I'm adding more little by little until I get the look I want. You really can't do this wrong. You're just going for what you like. And I'm going to use an Arteza paint marker. It's in brown, and I'm going to go all around the edges because it was kind of this light looking color, and I wanted it to blend and look like the whole thing was a piece of wood. Now I'm going to take my square ruler and I'm going to create kind of like shiplap lines. And then I'm going to dig them out a little bit with a like putty knife, I think is what I'm using, or a blade, just to kind of give that look. I'm going to actually be using that twine to outline a shape that I'm going to draw on there next. I'm going to take this little shape from the Dollar Tree that's a mason jar. Now this is smaller than I want it to be, so I'm just going to kind of use it to get the overall idea of a mason jar. I want mine to actually be bigger and wider than this one because of the piece that I'm using to put it on. It would look too small if I used that little teeny size to draw. Now I'm going to take that awesome twine from burlapfabrics.com. I love it. It's like such a good quality and it's lighter, so it really stands out against this wood grain look. Anyway, I'm going to hot glue it right around the outline of that mason jar that I drew, and it's going to look so cool. I saw a picture of somebody who did something similar and I kind of made it my own, but I just love the idea of it. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and let you watch how I built my mason jar out of twine. Now at this point, as I'm building like the little, I don't know what they are called, but like the ridges around the top, I want it to look like my flowers are inside the mason jar. And since this isn't really like fully three-dimensional, it's kind of hard. So what I did was I put them under the twine, and that way when I lay the twine over it, it looks like they're inside. I mean, I just think that came out really cool. I love the flowers. I decided not to add the colorful ones. I thought it'd be nice to keep this kind of neutral, because that way I could put it up whenever I want and wherever I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those little rivety things around the top of the jar. I decided to add a little dot of hot glue at the base of each of those stems just to make sure they stayed in place. And I like my projects to look finished, so I took some craft paper and I just hot glued it to the back so that way you wouldn't see the other design on it, and it just looks a little bit more, you know, professional and polished. Not that I'm selling it, but in case I ever wanted to, or even if I give it away, I just want to make sure that it looks nice on both sides. I'm going to take a little bit more of that really, really nice twine that I used already. I'm going to put a little tape around the end, and then I'm going to poke holes back through that craft paper since there were already holes in the sign. And I'm going to feed it from the back to the front and make a knot. And then I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue there to hold it in place. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I love the knot in the front. I just think it's so cute and it adds such a farmhouse feel to it. And it makes the sign hang nicer because the string is more on the back. At least it's my preference anyway. And of course, I couldn't just leave well enough alone, so I had to add some more of those little white flowers. I just felt like right in the front there it was really dark towards the top of the mason jar, so I just added a few more flowers, hot glued them down, and I think that just kind of balanced it out. You'll have to let me know what you think. I really like this one. I'm super happy about it. Can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comments. Dollar Tree sticker hack. I've got this cute little box I found at the thrift store for $3. Looks like it originally came from TJ Maxx. And then I've got these cool little faux kind of metal stickers from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to turn this box into something that looks really vintage. I'm going to clean it with my crud cutter, take off the little hinges, and then I'm going to sand down the whole box and get rid of that little design on the top. And since it's just painted off, not too bad. There it is, ready to go. And I've wiped away all the dust. Next, I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and I'm just going to put a decent coat on the whole thing and then wipe away all the excess just to freshen it up and give it a little more dimension so it doesn't look quite as worn but still old. And there it is. I'm going to put back the hinges and then we're going to go ahead and start using the stickers to embellish this. So I want this to be like a little treasure box where you keep important things. I'm making this for my husband. He loves stuff like this and it's rustic, so he loves that. So I've got this really pretty cherish sticker and then I'm going to put little embellishments. I don't know what you call those on the ends, and I put all different ones. It just looks so cute. And then I figured the stickers weren't strong enough, so I put some Aleene's tacky glue on the back of every single one just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere, because sometimes the sticky stuff kind of comes off. And I added some more things to the corners of the two smaller sides. I'm also going to put some stickers on the back. They're all a little different, but they all look kind of vintage. On the top, I'm going to put this really cool little design, kind of like a mandala, but it comes in 3 parts. So it's got a center, a middle, and then an outside one. And I just thought that looked really nice on the top.
Yesterday, there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane.
And I found some other little embellishments to put in the 4 corners on the top. I'm going to take my Folk Art Brushed Metal Gold and my Apple Barrel Burnt Umber, and I'm going to make sure all the pieces are like the same color so it looks like they all go together. And that really makes such a difference because it really does look cohesive now and I'm loving it. This was so easy to do and it was really fun. I'm going to finish it off with some finishing wax that I got on Amazon. It'll be in my Amazon store and that just kind of seals the wood and I love it. Let me know what you think.
And now, there's something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin. Restoring everything.
Little book stack that says Faith, Hope, Love. And for $24, I could make this for almost nothing. I'm going to use my Kills White primer paint and I'm going to use some nautical, actually I think it's just the bigger jute from Walmart. And then I've got 3 books that were already used, and so I'm just taking off the covers and the back covers and leaving the rest of the book. And then what I'm going to do is take the white primer paint and then very lightly paint over the tops of each of the books and the bottom of the bottom, well, excuse me, the top of the top book, the bottom of the bottom one, and all the way around the sides of all of them. Because the book in the middle, you're only going to see the edges. You're not going to see the top and bottom. So that's what I'm going to do. Go ahead and cover those with the paint. But I want you to see the writing coming through just a little bit. So I'm not like doing a heavy coat at all, just a very light single coat. Then I'm going to use my premium decoupage and I'm going to do all the spines, and then I'm going to do the top of the top book and the bottom of the bottom book because just in case it were to get wet or something, it's paper, so I want to make sure that it's protected. Next, I'm going to use a piece of tape to get a straight line, and with one of my markers, I'm going to write the words. And I'm going to make them look a little bit like newspaper type font. I was going to use stamps, but my stamps are too little and it was hardly noticeable. So I'm just going to go ahead and freehand it, and I'm not a calligrapher, but I'll do the best I can. And then there's a little heart on the one that says love. Now in the original, they're not this dark, so I'm trying to dab at them a little bit. Then I'm going to take the rope and I'm going to wrap it around 3 times each direction and then hot glue it to the bottom. And then the last thing I'm going to do, just to make sure that the letters aren't too dark, is I'm going to get a little bit of the white paint on my fingers and I'm just going to kind of smudge it over the letters, just a little bit, just to lighten it up and make it look a little bit older and kind of more used. That's it, you guys. This was super easy and I love it. using about 5 or 6 corks. And then I've got this foam wreath ring from the Dollar Tree, a wired jute, and some rope from Walmart. And then that burlap I got at a thrift store for $4 for that whole thing. I cut out strips of the burlap, and then I'm going to start gluing it and wrap it around the wreath form. And that way you won't see the green, it'll overlap. And I'm going to do that for the whole thing and just hot glue each piece and start a new one. Now I'm going to trim off those little flyaway pieces from the burlap. There it is, and I love the way it looks. Now I have a nice base. And I'm going to use the wired rope. I'm going to create a tree of life looking wreath. So I'm going to use the wired jute to do the shape of the trunk and the branches. And then there's a wire in it. I'm going to stab it into the foam and hot glue it to secure it down. And I'm looking at a picture of a tree of life, and I'm just positioning the leaves like it looks in the picture. You could do yours any way you want. And then I'm just going to kind of wrap around in the middle there and attach it. And then I'll take the next piece up to the top, clip it, and then stick the wire in and hot glue. And I'll do that until I have as many branches as I want. You could do this, however you want it to look. Like I said, I'm just looking at a picture that I saw. And now I'm just going to wrap it around the very trunk of the tree and start getting that a little bit thicker. And I'll just go all the way around and attach it at the end. There is the base of the tree right there. Now I'm going to put a hanger on the back before I go too much further. And I'm going to take the corks, and I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to start cutting little teeny slices. Now, I can't give you an exact number because it depends on how many leaves you want to put on your tree. Now I'm going to take that rope from Walmart, and I'm going to start building, and I'm just going to wrap it around and then go up and down. And you'll see here in just a second, you could do this any way you want to. It just kind of whatever looks good to you. So I just made a little bit of it thicker, and then I added some more, and then added some more, and there it is. That's the way I wanted it to look. Now I'm going to put hot glue on each of those slices. I'm going to start putting those little cork slices on the branches, and then I'm going to put some underneath by the trunk as if the leaves fell. Now off camera, I did dry brush these with the fern color chalk paint from Waverly because I felt like maybe you wouldn't know they were leaves. I don't know. So I just put a little bit on there. I think this came out beautiful, and I just love it. Let me know what you think. I'm going to use 5 tumbling tower blocks and 7 of the bigger popsicle sticks and some black chalk paint and the white Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and my miter shears. I'm going to cut off the 2 ends of the popsicle stick, and then I'm going to eventually adjust it to the right length that I need. Right here I wasn't sure, but I did sand both of the edges, and then one of the edges I rounded, and that's kind of like the bottom of this is going to be like a piano. And then I'm going to take some scraps that I had, and I'm going to put them on the back and just secure all these pieces together by putting 2 rows of those cut up popsicle sticks. I'm going to paint the whole thing with the white, and then I'm going to take a piece of tape and put my 5 tumbling tower blocks on it and use the chalkboard black paint for that. And I'm going to do everything but the bottom. And once I've got that, I'm going to distress the keyboard. This is going to look super old-fashioned. I'm going to use my mister with some water in it and dry brush my Antique Wax by Waverly and just kind of wipe it off with a baby wipe. And then I'm going to add the little black keys or tumbling tower blocks, and I'm going to make what looks like part of a piano. I love this so much. I just think it's so cool looking, and I got inspired by something I saw on Pinterest. I'm going to put some craft paper on the back and take off what I don't need, and then I put together some rub-on transfers and some other stickers so that I could get the words I want. I didn't have all the letters I needed. So I cut up some of those little stickers and I made them into letters. Like you can see the WKT and the 2 I's. That's going to end up being the word with. Yeah, you got to get creative when you run out of stickers. And it is going to say, "It is well with my soul." And I didn't have 2 L's, so I took those 2 welcome stickers and I just cut off an L off the second one and made it work. So you literally just rub on the back of the transfer with something a little pointy or sharp until you see the paper come away, and then you kind of lift it up. And if it doesn't come off, you keep rubbing. I'm going to use tacky glue, Aleene's tacky glue, to put on the word well, because that's just regular paper. That part wasn't sticky. It had a little foam sticker on the back that I peeled off. And now it doesn't, you can't even tell it wasn't one piece. And I took my brayer and kind of rubbed over it to make sure it was laying very flat. And then I had another kind of a letters rub-on transfer, and I was able to do the word soul with that. I love this so much. I'm going to put some Mod Podge over the top of the whole thing. And then I'm going to take some rope that I got at Walmart. I'm going to start at the bottom about halfway across, and I'm going to hot glue it all the way around. I'm going to make room for a hanger by pulling it up higher than the top, and then come all the way around the other side and meet up where the other piece ended. And I think this one is gorgeous. Let me know what you think.
Walk with me, lead the way, I will fall. You woke me up, I know.
I'm going to use about 15 book pages. I've got some burlap. I've got a little bamboo wreath from the Dollar Tree, and also some burlap that I already had on hand. I'm going to pull the pages out of the book, and then I'm going to trim off where the edges are uneven. I'm going to take each one of these and I'm going to fold them in half, and then I'm going to take the top right corner, fold it over, and the left side, fold it all the way across. I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm not going to cut up on the top part there. I turn this around. I'm going to cut like a petal shape, make sure it stays within that one part, and then open it up, and look at that, you end up with a flower. So here I am again, it's folded. I'm just going to cut a petal shape, open that up, and there you go, there's a flower. If you need to go back and replay that, go right ahead. Now I'm going to cut off 3 petals. I'm going to cut off another one that has 2 petals and 1. So you need exactly what is on the screen here. Go ahead and take a screenshot or stop it and write that down. I'm going to take the top of each petal, I'm going to roll it over with my pencil. I'm also going to cut a little bit between the petals just so they're not so, tight. And I'm going to take this one single petal, roll it up. Then I'm going to take the 2 petals, roll it up. I don't hot glue it. You can use any glue you want. And then I'll do the same thing with the 3 petal, and then I'll put them all inside each other. You know, like those little Russian dolls that nest inside of each other? That's basically what's going to happen. I'm just going to roll up everything and leave the 2 full flowers out, and until I get done with the other ones. So I will glue them into each other. So right at the end, you might snip a little piece off the end so it's flatter. Go ahead and put the glue on it, put them inside of each other like I'm doing right here. And then when you get to the last 2 full flowers, take the smaller of the 2 if one is smaller, and you're just going to glue right into the center that piece that has all those other pieces. And then you're only going to glue the very bottom of each petal so they can still fold outward. See what I'm doing? I'm just putting it way inside. I'm pushing down and folding the petal outward. I'm going to do the same exact thing with this one. Now, once I have that done, I'm going to need 5 of these altogether for this bamboo wreath. It's a smaller wreath. It's not like a 14-inch. It's probably like a 6-inch wreath, I'm guessing. And there's what the flower looks like. Isn't that beautiful? Then I'm going to take the burlap. I'm going to do the same kind of folding and glue the flower right into the burlap. And then I will also put a little glue on each petal of the burlap, just like I did with the last flower. I'm going to glue the very back of the flower and right to the bamboo wreath, and I'm only going to put them on half of the wreath. These little bamboo wreaths are odd shaped, so pick the way it'll look the best with your flowers and give it more of a round look. I took a little piece of twine, just tucked it through the twine that was already on the wreath, made a knot, and pulled it up, and that's my hanger. That little garland I had from the Target dollar spot, I'm just going to cut off each leaf that I need and put them all around the outside or back of the flower so that you see just a glimpse of it. I'm going to do that for the whole side where the flowers are, and look at that, it's so pretty. Such an easy wreath. I love this one. Let me know what you think.
An open heart when your world is a mess. That's the only kind of love, the only kind of love. No need for presents.
This tumbling tower block hack, I need 36 blocks, and I'm going to make them in little sets of 3 going in alternating directions and 2 rows of them. And then I've got this metal thankful sign from the Dollar Tree and this really big nautical rope. I'm just going to use the wood glue finally. I should have done that all along, but I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to glue each set of 3 pieces together. Now, once I have all of my little 3 pieces together, there's going to be 12 then. I'm going to glue together the pieces one on top of each other. And then when I'm done with that, I'll glue the pieces across the middle. So I'm just going to make sure that really every part is glued together when it's all said and done.
Explore every bend of the road.
So there I've got my piece with all 36 of the little pieces. I'm going to take some wood glue and fill in any parts that didn't fill in really well and sand that off as best as I can. And then I'm going to paint the whole thing with the Rust-Oleum linen white paint. And I'm not going to do a perfect job because I'm going to take a baby wipe and wipe off a lot of the paint. I want that to be how I distress it. But then I decided that I should probably distress it a little more. But first I'm going to lay down some Mod Podge over the whole thing. I just want to seal it. And then I'm going to, with some hot glue, attach my thankful word over the top. It doesn't take too much, and the Mod Podge is still wet, so I kind of use that as a little extra adhesive as well. So now I'm going to take the burnt umber and I'm just going to go all the way around the edges with a brush, like dry brushing, where you put just a little bit on your brush and then wipe most of it off. And I'm going to do that over the top too, and I just thought that made it look a little bit more even, more consistently distressed. And then I'm also going to take that color and I'm going to go around the edges. Now I didn't really have to because I'm going to be putting rope all around it to create a hanger, but I decided just in case any little part showed, I would just paint that, and I kind of wiped off any excess off camera. I also forgot to film me hot gluing the rope all the way around and making a hanger, and that's all there was to it, and you'll have to let me know what you think.
Walk with me, lead the way, I will fall. You woke me up, I no longer feel
DIY, I'm starting off with a little kind of basket hanger that I got at the Goodwill for $2.99, and I've got my sunflowers, of course, from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use two different paints, the cashew and the hazelnut. So I'm going to start off with the cashew, just kind of dry brushing around the basket, and then I'll add a little bit of the cashew where I think it needs it, but it's optional. I'm just trying to lighten up this basket. I don't really like the dark color that it already is. And there it is, all finished. Now the basket was a little flimsy, probably because it was at the Goodwill, who knows. And I'm going to take two zip ties. I'm going to push them in from the inside and then pull them tight around the handles of this little basket to make sure it's very secure. And then I've got this burlap fabric that I got from a little thrift store. I got that whole bunch of it for $4. I'm gonna cut off a piece, fray the ends, and kind of fold it into a triangle and position it inside the basket. I'm going to take my sunflowers and I'm going to bend the stems, and I'm just going to figure out how I want to arrange them. Right now I'm putting it on both sides, if you will. I do end up putting them all to the right as you're looking at it because I'm going to add a word on there that's made out of wood. But right now you see me kind of playing with it, trying to figure out how I want to arrange them. I have this thankful and blessed wooden sign from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to draw a little line where the letters touch so I know where I want to cut with my utility knife or X-Acto blade. And I'm just going to go ahead and score it over and over until it comes apart, and I'll take off the whole word blessed. I'll sand down the rough edges where I cut it, and then I'm going to paint the whole thing with a base coat of plaster chalk paint from Waverly. And after I do that, I'm going to take the maize color from Waverly, and I'm going to kind of, at first I was lightly dry brushing, and then I went on a little heavier because I really want it to stand out when you look at it. I'm going to take a furniture marker in the color Walnut from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go around all of the little edges just to make it pop a little more. I think it needed something darker. And then I'm going to hot glue it right there at the top of the circle part of the basket, and I'm going to put that at diagonal, and that's it. This one is done. I think it's so cute. You can arrange the flowers any way you want. I love it. This was so easy. Dollar Tree galvanized metal hack. I'm using this metal plaque. I've got a cute little sticker that says "Be Still" from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use one of these square planks from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use some plaster color chalk paint by Waverly, burnt umber by Apple Barrel, and the chalkboard paint by Craftwise. I'm going to take my metal piece and I'm going to dab the plaster on it just very lightly, trying to antique this, make it look more worn. I'm going to do the same thing with the black, and I'm taking most of this paint off my brush before I even apply it. And then I'm going to take the burnt umber and go around the edges and a little bit on the piece itself. And now it looks much more aged and really cool. I'm going to sand down that little wood square, and then I'm going to spray it with some water using my mister. And then I'm going to take the burnt umber paint and I'm basically going to stain it. So I'm going to get the paint all over it and then wipe it off. Now I'm purposely not doing full coverage because I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to try kind of a two-tone looking wood. I've got a furniture marker from the Dollar Tree in the color walnut. And what I'm going to do with that one, it's got a little bit of a reddish tone. I'm going to go around the edges. And then on those areas that weren't covered very well on the front, I'm just going to lightly put some on, and it kind of gives a different look, like a little bit more of a natural wood look when it's not like one color. And I just thought I would try that, and I like the way it turned out. So if you haven't tried that, it might be something fun to do. Then I'm going to sand down the top just a little bit just to kind of blend the two colors. I'm going to place the piece of wood right in the center there. But before I glue it down, I added a hanger just using some rope and putting them in the holes. And now I'm going to take my little Be Still sign, and because it's paper, I want to use a little bit of the burnt umber and just kind of distress it a little bit, make it look maybe like it is worn and a little bit older. I'm even going to put some across the top and wipe off any excess. And now it matches the rest of the sign. I'm going to take off the little foam piece on the back because I don't really want this to be 3D. And then I'm going to use my Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm just going to put that all over the back of it, and I'm just going to lay it down right in the center there. And then I'm going to take some E6000 and hot glue, and I'm going to attach that wood plank right to the front of my metal piece. And I love the combination of wood and metal. I hope you guys like this one too. I think it's super sweet and rustic. These houses at Goodwill. They're originally from Target for $5 and I got them for $4. And then I've got this Dollar Tree fabric from the Crafter's Square, and I am going to cut out the front of both of the houses with the fabric, and I'm going to attach it, and I'm just going to dress them up because we are creating a fall tiered tray, and there are going to be so many amazing pieces for that we're going to do today. And these two are just the beginning. I'm going to use my Beacon Fabric Tack glue to glue the house right onto the fabric. I'm just going to pick the area that I want to use, and then I'll trim around the edges with my scissors. Super easy. I'll do the same thing with both of them. Now that I've got the houses trimmed, I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and go in and cut out where the little windows are. I'm going to use some of that Beacon Fabric Tack glue to put in there to kind of set down the edges. I'm just going to put a stick in there and help that along. Then I've got this piece of a basket that I took apart from the Goodwill, and I'm just going to cut it into little pieces to make a roof line for the taller house. I'm going to use my miter shears from Amazon to cut that out. Super easy. And then I'm just going to hot glue those right in place. I hope you'll follow me on social media. All my links are down below in the description box. This is a really easy way to dress up some wooden houses that you could either find at the Dollar Tree, the Target, Dollar Spot, or anywhere by adding some fabric and a little roof line. And I'm going to use my furniture marker in walnut to go ahead and make that roof line consistently the same color. I'm going to do the same thing on the other house, but with a wider piece. I'm going to take some of this pitberry garland from Hobby Lobby and make a little teeny wreath. I'm going to hot glue it to the front of the shorter house. And I just think that is super cute. And then I've got this like greenery from IKEA. I just cut off teeny pieces. I'm just going to put them around that wreath to make it look like, you know, an actual wreath, not just pitberries. Then I'm going to make a little chain using my Dollar Tree twine, and I'm going to fold that into a circle, make sure it will fit nicely at the top of the taller house, and I'll make a knot, and then I will hot glue that, and that'll become my little wreath for that house. Remember making those little bracelet chains when you were younger? Oh my gosh, they were so cute and so fun. So I'm going to attach that, and then I'm going to take one little piece of that same greenery and put it on there just to kind of add a little more interest. And I think these are adorable, and I can't wait to put them on my tiered tray. I'm going to take some more of that straw hat, the brim that I had left over, and a piece of cardboard. I'm going to use my Mod Podge lid to trace a circle and cut it out. And then I'm going to take that piece of the brim of the hat, I'm going to wrap it around to see how much I need to go around the whole thing, and then I will cut that. And then I'm going to hot glue the very base of that to the edge of the cardboard circle. What I'm creating is a little basket. So once I get that the right size and glued down, I'm going to trim it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is take some jute twine from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to put little pieces starting from the top to the bottom, and then I'll cut them off, and I'll do that all the way around the entire little basket. Now that I have that done, I'm going to cut some more pieces of jute that will fit all the way around, and I'm going to start at one spot, and then I'm going to weave them in and out of those other little pieces. That's why I didn't glue them all the way down, only the top and the bottom. And I'm going to create a little bit of a basket weave look, more than even the basket already has. I'm going to take my Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel paint. I'm going to paint the bottom, and then I'm going to do some dry brushing all the way around the outside and a little bit on the inside. I've got these beads from Amazon, and then I've got the lacquer paint from Waverly and this little green paint that I had. And I'm going to do some of the beads in the red and some in the green. And then I've got these little sticks, and I'm going to hot glue those in to create the stem. Now I'm going to take my Dollar Tree fabric, and I cut out a square that would fit in the little basket, and then I kind of frayed the edges. Now I'm going to stick that inside. I'm going to add some raffia in there, and then I'm going to put my little apples in there. Isn't this the cutest little apple basket? Let me know what you think. Dollar Tree metal hack. I've got these cute little bottle caps from the Crafter Square. I've got 3 of them, and then I also bought these seeds at Dollar Tree. I was inspired by Chalk It Up Fancy. They did something with the seed packets, and it made me want to try this. So I took the seeds out and cut off the back, so I still have the instructions. And then I'm going to take the pieces that I cut off the top. I'm going to saturate the edges with water, make it really wet so that I can just rip around the edges, real close to the edge there. I want to give it more of an antique look, and I didn't want those nice, perfect edges to be there. So there's one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some spray adhesive. I believe I got this at the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to spray the back, lay it down, wipe off the excess. And I'll also use my brayer, which is from Amazon. That helps really make sure the thing lays very flat. I love doing that. You can also put saran wrap over the top too when you do it. I'm going to dry brush the burnt umber all over this bottle cap piece, and especially on those edges where I ripped the paper. And that makes this look really, really antique and very, very rustic. Now I did the same thing to all 3 of them. Then I've got this really beautiful kind of like burlap ribbon. I got this from burlapfabric.com. I'll put a link down in the description box if you're interested. It's a really nice heavy duty piece. And I just cut it, leaving some edges on the top and bottom. And I'm going to hot glue each one of these bottle cap pieces to my burlap ribbon. And I'll leave a little gap between each of them. And then I'm going to add some more glue on the back because I only did it really down the center, and I want to reinforce that so it stays in place. I made a little hanger out of some rope, and I just hot glued it to the back and added some tape over the top to just seal it in there with more hot glue, and that works really well. I've got a bunch of greens. This is some boxwood I got off Amazon. I'm going to glue some to the top and just make a kind of a little arrangement there, and then I'm going to use some yellow flowers from the Dollar Tree. Just going to cut off the little stems and hot glue them right down. I was trying to get the colors of the flowers that are in these little seed packets. I didn't have the blue, but I used some purple. And then I also did little white ones in the middle there. And then I'm going to add some more of that greenery on the bottom. You could do however you want, any greenery, no greenery, whatever suits your fancy. And then I decided to add one more little white flower because it looked so empty where the white little baby flowers were. And I just had a beautiful rose, and I just decided to put it right in the center there. That really finished it off. This is such a beautiful rustic piece, especially if you like gardening and flowers. You'll have to let me know if this is something you might want to try.
Remember you, I've been thinking about you more.
Corrugated metal plaques from the Dollar Tree, and then this leather, faux leather blessed word from the Dollar Tree, and then a bunch of corks that my daughter-in-law gave me. The Waverly plaster chalk paint, the Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel, and the chalkboard paint. I got that at Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to do is dry brush again the plaster all over this to antique my piece of metal. And then I'm also going to use the black and the burnt umber again and go around the edges with the burnt umber just to make it look a little rusty and old and just very rustic. I love this look so much, and it's so easy to achieve. I took a hammer. I was trying to flatten out the edges and make this lay as flat as possible, because to put these corks around the edges, the one side is like kind of curvy from the corrugated part, so you really have to flatten it. So I took my corks and my little utility knife, and I am just making a line across one side and then, putting the blade in and making it a little deeper. And that way I can set them right on the edges. And I did use some hot glue to apply them so they would stay in place. There it is with all the corks. Now it's not perfectly flat, but I eventually get it to a really good place. I'm going to add a hanger just through the holes, super easy, with some rope. And then I'm going to reinforce the corks with more hot glue on the back, because I just want to make sure that it stays in place. I'm going to take the little faux leather blessed word and I'm going to put some hot glue on the bottom of it, and then I'm going to apply that right to the middle, and that is it. This one is so easy but so beautiful, and I love using the corks, whenever I can, because I think they add such a bit of charm. Let me know what you think.
Back to when we were kids and didn't care if we
I'm going to take this Dollar Tree house. I recently did a video showing you another hack with those houses. I'll link that down below. I'm going to use my heating tool from Amazon to take that tag off. It really helps a lot with the stickers. And I'm going to use some Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and my burnt umber apple barrel paint. I'm going to paint the inside and back of the house. I did not need to do the back after all, because I decided to cover all the rest with the burnt umber. So now I'm just going to cut the book pages into little teeny pieces, and then put some glue or Mod Podge, whatever you want to use, down inside, and just start Mod Podging, like going all different directions, all different sizes, and just cover that inside face of the shadow box house. I love doing Mod Podging. It's so fun, and there's so many different ways you can do it. And I think book pages look amazing when you Mod Podge them. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I love having you here, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Okay, now I'm just covering that whole thing in the Mod Podge, and then I'm going to touch up kind of where the corners, where it all meets, the book pages meet the sides. Make sure there wasn't any like white space left, and that just kind of adds to the character of it. I'm also going to dry brush that burnt umber very lightly on the face of this, and just so it looks like that. I've got these little garland pieces from Dollar Tree. Usually use these at Christmas time. If you just take one and wrap it around to fit the size of what you have and twist it, you will have a little mini wreath. And then I took my scissors, gave it a little haircut, which is such a mess, you guys. Oh my gosh, that stuff sticks to everything. Anyway, I'm going to put a little piece of twine in it, and I'm going to hot glue that right to that top peak of the house and hang it. And oh my gosh, this is just such a cute kind of rustic piece. I really like it. I've got these beads that I got on Amazon. They're in my Amazon store too, and they come in all different sizes. And I'm just going to hot glue them, and I'm going to keep them in their raw state. And this turned out so cute. You could put this on a shelf, a riser, wherever you want. I love this one.
An open heart when your world is a mess. That's the only kind of love, the only kind of love. No need.
Another super easy project. I've got a little piece of wood that I got on Amazon, but Dollar Tree has them too. A little round, and then I took a piece from the back of the 2022 calendar that I had, and I am just going to use this fabric again from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to trace that shape of the square on there, and then I will cut that out. Once that's cut, I'm going to fray the edges a little bit. I just want this to look rustic, because this whole tier tray is going to be rustic. I'm going to use my Beacon fabric tack glue. I will put that right on the wood, and then I will apply the little piece of fabric right on there. I'm being really careful so it doesn't stick before I want it to. That's why I'm kind of holding it up. And there we go. Just kind of push that down, make sure it's there, and then I'll trim any excess off around the edges. Then that little wood round I have, I'm going to trace that circle onto my little calendar piece. Now I end up trimming it down even more, but I needed something to work with, so I've cut it out. I'm going to take the burnt umber paint by Apple Barrel. I'm going to paint right around the edges and then the sides as well. Then I'm going to take my scissor blade, and I learned this from my friend Linda at FaithChick777. You just kind of rub your scissor blade along the edges of any paper, and it gives it a really cool distressed rustic look. Now I'm going to put some glue right on the back of that, and I'm going to put it right on my little circle. And then I did decide to put a little more of that burnt umber paint on it to distress it, but first I'm going to use my little nail file and distress around the edges. And there I am putting that right on top to distress it. I'm just going to hot glue it right on the center. It's so easy. And then I'm going to take the burnt umber and just kind of go around the edges of my board and the back. I want to make sure everything looks nice and finished. And then I'm going to take a little piece of that basket I've been using and just kind of break off a piece. I'm going to create a little frame with it. I'll just kind of measure and fold, and then I'll cut right in that spot with my miter shears, and I'll make 4 pieces and hot glue them around the edges. What an easy way to finish off a little piece of wood by giving it a little basket frame. Now I need something for this to stand on. I've got a domino from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint the whole thing in the burnt umber, and then I'm going to put a line of hot glue right across the middle there and set my piece on top, and this one is done. How easy and so cute. Couple packages of these little plant starters from the Dollar Tree. Got a book, of course, and I just was thinking, what could I do with these? So I put 2 together just to make it a little sturdier because they're super soft, but you get a lot for $1.25. I'm going to take my pencil and roll up a book page and hot glue the start of it, and then roll it all the way down while it's still on the pencil, and then I'll hot glue the very end of it. And then because I didn't glue it to the pencil, it just pulls right off. So I made as many of those as I would need to wrap around this plant starter. So now I'm going to kind of measure it and see if, they're too tall. So I'm going to cut them down. I'm going to have 1 to start, and that'll be my guide for cutting all of the rest of them. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So there they are, and then I'm going to hot glue them to the sides. Now, because this thing is wider at the top than the bottom, they don't all lay perfectly, but I thought, that kind of adds to the charm. So I'm going to go with it. So some will be a little sideways, not sideways, a little tilted, angled, some will be straight up. But in the end, I really love the way it looks. So I'm going to just go ahead and hot glue them all the way around this little plant starter. You could do this with a jar. You could do this with another vase, whatever you want. See how it looks? And then I'm going to take my burnt umber paint, and I'm going to go over those top where I cut the books, or just where the book ends, and just do some dry brushing, and it gives it a little more rustic look, I think. And I'm going to do the same exact thing on the bottom, but I'm also going to paint the bottom because it's sort of a terracotta color. I'm going to paint the whole thing with that brown burnt umber because the inside of the plant starter already is brown. So I figured that just makes it look like it belongs. Super easy. I mean, honestly, this is so easy. You don't even have to do it perfectly. That's the beauty of it. It has more character when you kind of don't make it perfect, I think. Now that it's all done and dried, I'm going to take these carnations and these evergreen picks I got on Amazon. I'm going to put a couple plastic bags inside to space it so it's not as deep. And I'm just going to place the flowers that I snipped off that pick right in there. I think there's 4 or 5 of them. It's good to do things in odd numbers, I've been told, so I'm trying to do that. And then I'm just going to add my 2 evergreen picks, and it's so cute, but I do want to make sure you can't see inside. So I'm going to take another one of those little garland picks that I was using before from Dollar Tree. I'm going to wrap it around the inside of that little plant starter, and then you will only see that and you can't see inside. And that just takes care of it. I didn't think like moss would look good in there this time because it's kind of a winter type thing, but I think this works perfectly. And look how cute that is, and it just looks beautiful.
An open heart when your world is a mess. That's the only kind of love, the only kind of love. No need for presents or...
For this project, I'm going to take another little wood square that I got, and I'm going to use my square ruler, and I'm going to figure out dividing it into thirds. So I'm going to put little marks wherever I can, create the thirds, and then I'll do it on both sides. So I end up with like kind of a hashtag, if you will. And what I'm doing is I looked online for barn quilts, and I found a pattern of one I really liked, and that's what I'm drawing. I'm drawing a barn quilt. Now, I don't know the name of it. I forgot to look for that, but it's okay. It doesn't even matter. I'm going to use my little wood burning kit. I haven't used it before, but I decided to do it today. I don't think I really needed to in the long run, but I wanted to try it out, so I did, and there is my little barn quilt. Now I'm going to take several different pieces of the Dollar Tree fabric. I'm going to trace using where I did the wood burner so I can, have the grooves to get into. I'm going to cut little pieces, and I am going to glue them on with my Beacon Fabri-Tac glue all of the little pieces and I'm gonna make a barn quilt on this little piece of wood. I don't know where I got this idea, but I just thought of it actually, and I just think it is so super cute and it fits the rustic theme. Now you couldn't see where I did the wood burner as much, so I took the furniture marker in walnut and I just kind of tapped along the lines, and because it's fabric it kind of bled a little and it looked really cool. So I just went ahead and I did that at every possible intersection on this quilt square, and then I did the back as well. And then I took a little scrap piece of wood that I had and I cut it down, and I'm going to cover that also in that furniture marker, and I'm going to sand around the edges, and then I'm going to hot glue right down the middle, and that'll become the stand. Super easy, so cute, very rustic, and it's going to look so cute on my fall tier tray. What do you think? Kirkland's dupe, I'm doing a lavender arrangement in a rustic watering can. Now they're asking $45. I know I can make this for less. Now mine's not a watering can, it's more like a container you'd see in a restaurant, like that holds syrup, but it was missing the lid. I found that at a thrift shop, picked it up for I think $1.99, great deal. Then I'm going to do the faux galvanized metal technique. Take some black paint, I'm using the ink color by Waverly, and just dab it on. I'm using a little makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of the metallic silver paint from Folklore, and again, just dabbing that on, just to, you know, kind of lighten up the black a teeny bit. And then I'm going to use a little bit of white and do the same thing, just dabbing it all over. I'm not rubbing it in, I'm not spreading it, just making little dabbing marks. And then after that, the next color I'm going to use is a gray. It's going to be steel from the Waverly chalk paint line. And I'm going to be putting that all over it, including the inner rim, because that might be seen. So I'm trying to do everything that's going to be seen. Now, I learned this technique from a channel called Chalk It Up Fancy. It's a mother-daughter team, and they do a lot of amazing tutorials. And I've learned so much of my special techniques from them. And I'll put their channel link down in my description as well. The last thing I'm going to do is use some burnt umber from Apple Barrel paints. You can get those at Walmart. And I literally just dab around all the edges and seams and places where you might find some rust or serious wear and tear. And it's amazing how it gives that look. It's so good at that. And I know people use all different colors for this, but I will say burnt umber is my favorite for this technique. Does anyone else think it's funny that we clean off these items with alcohol and then turn around and do a painting technique to make them look dirty and rusty? I just think that's kind of funny how we do that. Oh well, at least I know it's clean, right? I got this little roll of burlap from Walmart, and I'm going to cut a strip. I don't want those seamed edges involved in this. I want everything to look very, very, you know, rustic like the picture from Kirkland. So I'm going to cut off both of the edges, and then I'm going to pull some of the thread of the burlap on either side to create a little bit of a frayed edge. And I do that after it's attached because that's when I thought of it. So now I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue, and at first it didn't want to stick because I think I missed the mark on where the burlap was. So I go back in, and I've got it now, and I'm going to use my little applicator for makeup that I got, I think on Amazon. I can link that down below too. That way I don't burn my fingers. I used to burn myself all the time, you guys. Oh my gosh, so now I'm fraying it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the rope that I have and tie around and make a very simple bow, just like the picture. I'm also going to put a couple of dabs of hot glue to keep the bow in place because I want it to lay, you know, a certain way so it looks just like the piece that I'm trying to replicate. I have several picks of lavender that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to arrange them inside what is now a vase, I guess. And I'm going to cut off the ends so that it's just the right height to fit in there and look as similar to the picture as possible. And I do actually end up adding another one when you see the final reveal, because I thought it just needs to be a little bit fuller. I really love how this piece turned out. It's funny, I don't decorate my house with super rustic things, but I love making them. Go figure. My husband loves this one too. I think he wants it now in his office. Pretty soon all my crafts are going to end up in his office. I think it's hilarious. Anyway, I hope you guys like it. I think it looks a lot like the original one, other than having a pouring spout. Other than that, I think it came out great. So let me know what you think. Project, I've got my Dollar Tree fabric, and then I've got these sticks, and I'm just going to use my miter shears and cut them down. I'm going to make a mini ladder. So there was already a piece that worked perfectly with another piece sort of attached to it, so I just used that as my base, and then I created another side and the 3 pieces, and I'm just going to make sure they're cut to the right lengths, and then I will hot glue them down to each other. Once I have this set, I'm going to take some jute twine, and I'm going to start by hot gluing it on the back, and I'm going to wrap it around each intersection, so there's 6 of them, and I want to end up with an X over the middle of each intersection and then a piece around the top and bottom. So I just did that, and you can do this any way you want. That's just what I decided, and there it is, all finished. Now I cut a little piece of this fabric, and I'm going to figure out how long it needs to be. I want to make a mini ladder blanket. You know how you hang blankets on those little ladders? So I'm just going to cut a piece that I think is about the right size. And then, of course, I end up trimming it down even more when I'm done. And I'm going to fray the ends, and I'm just going to fold it and hang it over the middle rung of the ladder. So cute, so easy. I am just loving these little mini pieces. They are adorable. I felt like this just needed one more thing, so I took a piece of the basket I took apart and been using, and I just cut little pieces and I made a little rustic star, and I'm going to hot glue it to another piece of the fabric just to kind of fill it in. I'm just going to cut around the edges, and I wanted something that would make it easier to glue it to the sticks, and that worked really well. This turned out so cute. Let me know what you think. I'm going to take 4 wood slices that I got at Hobby Lobby, and they're not all the same sizes. I've got some leaves from a pick, and then I've got 4 different colors of the Waverly chalk paint. There's lacquer, maize, fern, and moss. Now what I'm doing is the first one I'm going to paint red right up to that very edge where you see the bark from the tree, and I did 3 of them that way. And then for the last one, I'm going to take both the fern, I think actually I did the moss color and then the maize on this one. And I'm going to use my mister, I'm going to spray it, and I'm going to create some of those highlights and make it more look like a green apple that has a little bit of the yellow highlights on it. And I'm just blending the colors to get what I think a green apple would look like. They're usually a little brighter than just regular green. Then I'm going to take one of the red apple ones, and I'm going to put some highlights on that as well. So on the right side, a little bit on the left, and then just kind of darken it to make sure it's not overwhelming. I'm not going to do too much on these. And then I'm going to leave the other 2 red ones just as they are. I'm going to take the Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to go around those edges and just darken where the bark is. I just want to make it look like it's all the same color, so you've just got the apple color and the edges, and I think that looks really cute. Then I'm going to take some Mod Podge. I'm going to cover the tops of all of them. Once that dries, I need to cut my little leaves. I'm going to put 2 leaves on each apple, but I need a place to stick them, and then I've got some little sticks to make stems. So I'm going to get out my drill, and very carefully with my smallest little drill bit, I'm going to drill a very small hole into the top of each apple so I have a place to stick the stem and the little leaves, and I will hot glue them to each of the 4 apples. And the reason I had a couple smaller ones is if you have smaller cups or bottles or whatever, they don't have to be huge to cover the bottom of whatever you're setting on it. And I thought it looked cuter that they were different shapes. I've got this cork sheet from Dollar Tree. I'm going to trace on the back of it the size of each of the little coasters, and I'm going to cut it out, and then I'm going to adhere those to the back of the coasters. And then the last one I just pieced 2 pieces together because I didn't want to waste any, and it worked perfectly to do that. When you put the cork on the back, that's a perfect solution for creating coasters. And then I'm going to trim around the edges with my rotary cutter just to get off any little pieces of cork that might have, hung over. You guys, I love it. This is so cute. I'm going to take some buffalo check or gingham fabric that I found at a thrift store. I'm just going to rip off a strip. If you just cut one little piece and then start to rip, it'll rip right off. And then I'm going to tie it around the 4 coasters and make a little bow. And that's how they can sit when you're not using them. I'm going to put a little dovetail on these just by folding it in half, cutting towards the top, and then I'm just going to make my bow. You guys, I love this one. It's just so, so cute, and I hope you guys like this one because I really, really like it. Another thing that I found on Pinterest, but it was pretty expensive at somewhere between $24 and $34, and I thought, I'm gonna make it. So again, I'm using one of my creamer containers that I have saved, and I'm using a blade to cut off the top, and then I'm gonna trim it even shorter than that after I remove the wrapper. I'm gonna cut in one of the grooves because I think I can get a straighter line if I do it that way. Otherwise, I'm kinda all over the place. I'm going to take my little sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to sand around the whole outside of this container because I want the paint to stick and it's a little bit smooth. And then I'm also going to run it over the bottom and the top just to make sure that everything is kind of roughed up. Now I'm using that Kills Primer white paint that I like to use, and I'm going to give it a good solid coat, and it really doesn't take much to cover since it was already white. I have this greenery pick that I got at the Target dollar spot, and it's got these little pieces that when you cut them off, they can lay flat. So I've hot glued them to the side all the way around, and then a couple up a little higher. And I'm just going to make sure all the little edges are secure, and then I'm going to give it a coat of the white paint right over the top. Next, I'm going to use the color Truffle from the Waverly Chalk Paint, and I'm going to distress over the top. Now, I'm not going super heavy, but I'm also not going too light. I can go back and forth with the lighter color if I need to get just what I'm looking for, and I actually do that several times. Here I'm hitting it again with the white because I thought it was a little bit too dark. Now in the inspiration piece, it had a little touch of blue in it. So I'm going to use one of my Arteza markers. You're going to see how I'm going to, there it is. I'm just going to put it around the edge of the top and just over a little bit of the little, they're supposed to look like pine trees. And then I'm using this hard kind of plastic bristle brush, and I'm writing on it with the marker. And then I'm very lightly putting that on the sides, and it gives me just the right effect, just the right amount of blue. Now I am going to go back over the trees a little bit because the blue looked like I was just putting little lines on it. So I'm going to use the truffle and kind of cover some of the blue, and then I'm going to go back over it again with the white. It's a back and forth process till you get what you want. And eventually I do, and then I distress the rest of it a little bit, and I'm just really happy with how it turned out. I'm going to go ahead and put some more greenery on the inside. I'm just going to trim some pieces. I'm going to use some of the Spanish moss to fill in, and I'm going to hot glue that kind of around the sides so I don't have to fill up the entire thing. And I'm just thrilled with how it turned out. It's pretty close to the original, just a little bit of a different shape, but I really like it. I hope you guys like it. The inspiration piece didn't have these white flowers, but I really liked them, so I added them, and I'm glad I did. I think it was just the right touch. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. so cute. Got one bowl, and then I've got that rope from Walmart, which by the way, it's very inexpensive. The celery colored chalk paint, and I'm just gonna paint the inside of the bowl. There's really no reason to paint the outside because it's gonna be covered with the rope. Of course, use my heat tool to dry it, and then I'm going to use some Mod Podge for the inside. That way, if I put things in this bowl, they won't scratch the paint. Now I've turned the bowl over, and I'm going to take my hot glue and take the rope, and I've slowed it down so you can see I'm just going to kind of start winding it around itself. Almost look like a flat little spiral. You'll see it in a second. And then I'm going to set that right on that little bit of hot glue that I put there. And I'm going to start what will be a spiral going around and around and around to cover the entire bowl. And you'll see right when I lift my hands what the start of it looks like. And then I will just keep adding hot glue, and I'll just go around and around. And I do use hot glue for the entire thing. I don't want part of it to lift up. I think that's risky in this particular situation. And then I'll skip ahead and show you when I've got a little bit more of it done. It's looking really nice. And then I'm going to take 2 pieces of rope, and I made them the same size, and I'm going to attach them with hot glue, one to each side, and it will become the handle. And once it's attached, I will continue wrapping the rope around, and that way you won't even see where I've attached the handle. I mean, there'll be a little kind of bump in the rope, which you will see at the end, but it looks really cool. And so this is just the best way to secure that, and that way no matter what, that rope is on there really good, and if there's something a little bit heavier in the bowl, it will be able to handle it. No pun intended, the handles can handle it. Anyway, and if you notice there's a little crack in my bowl, I don't know how I did that, but it's going to be wrapped in the rope, so it's really going to be stable when it's all said and done. So now the second handle's on, and I'm going to continue the wrapping around and around. I won't show you the whole thing. And there it is. So I think that looks really nice, and it just makes it much more secure. And then I'm going to take these 2 corks, and I'm going to cut them to the same size. I end up taking another one, and I'm going to use these to make legs for the bottom of this bowl. And I just think it's so cute. Makes it very rustic. I'm going to take a pen and mark where I want them to be so I don't forget, and get them on there pretty evenly. And then I'm going to use E6000 and a little bit of hot glue to secure each one so that it will stay in place while I finish this project. Now, because they're not all the same color, I took some cashew and hazelnut chalk paint by Waverly and I mixed them together. I'm trying to get a color that complements the cork color. So I end up adding some antique wax, and then I really like what it looked like. And I'm just going to paint the very bottom of the legs and a little band around the bottom and leave the cork for the rest of it. And I think that is just a really nice look. It almost came out kind of khaki. I love this one. So easy. I hope you like it. I am going to turn it into a faux wood looking piece. I'm going to use this Kills All-Purpose Primer first, and then my Antique Wax by Waverly. It's going to cover the center because all the reflection of the lights, and then my face while I'm concentrating. Who wants to see that? Anyway, I'm going to apply the primer, and I'm going to go all in one direction, and there it is, the whole thing covered, including the sides. Then I'm going to take my antique wax and very carefully I'm going to go all in one direction. What I'm doing is trying to make it look like wood grain. And if you do this just right, I mean just carefully and keep going over to make sure it's all going the right direction like grain, it will work perfectly. In the center part, I just go around like a circle to make it look like that's the grain. Anyway, I go through the whole thing and I do a couple coats until it looks the way I want it. You can do it to any, depth that you like, depending on the color kind of wood you would have wanted. And it's amazing how much it looks like wood. Isn't that beautiful? I was inspired to make this video after watching Shannon from the Daily DIYer, and she loves to take the same item at Dollar Tree and make other things, and I thought, ooh, I want to try that too. I'll leave her link down in the description box, so if you don't know her, you can check her out. She's awesome. And now that's how it looks. I love it, you guys. I just think the whole faux wood look thing is awesome. Now I am going to deal with that center here just in a second. I'm going to take some hot glue and I'm going to take some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. It's a pretty thick piece and I want it that way because I want it to cover. I didn't want a paint in there because inevitably I will get it on the mirror every time. It doesn't matter if I tape or not, I just will. So this will save me some cleanup. I'm just gonna snip off the end and hot glue, and there I am concentrating. I definitely have that concentrating face going on. Anyway, I love the way this one turned out. I think it's gorgeous, so easy. You could do this to pretty much anything to create that faux wood look. And since I'm afraid of fire, I'm cutting off the little rope wispy things. You know what I'm talking about. Dollar Tree Hoola skirt DIY project. I've got this frame from the Dollar Tree, these little stickers from the Dollar Tree, and a placemat from the Dollar Tree. I'm also going to use my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I'm going to sand around all of the parts of the frame that I'm going to paint just to make sure the paint's going to stick. And I taped off the glass part. I'm going to do 2 quick coats on that and dry it off with my heat tool. Then I'm going to remove the tape, and then I'll just use a blade if I get any little spots on the glass. I'm going to use the inside of the frame as like a template to cut my little square from the placemat. And I will go ahead and cut that out. And then I'm going to position the little, it's like a 3D sticker right on top of that, right in the middle. I'm going to take about 4 or 5 strands of the Hoola skirt, and I'm just going to bunch it together and start on the inside of the frame and hot glue it. And I'm going to wrap it around each of the 4 sides, but excluding the actual corners. And I'm just going to create a really cool kind of boho farmhouse look with this, but I also think it's very fall, and I think it could be changed up to kind of look like you would want it for any season. And that's one of the things I love about this piece. It's so easy and it's versatile. So I'm literally going to wrap around that side, and when I get to the end of the side, I will just hot glue the little pieces of the Hoola skirt back inside the back of the picture frame, and I will do that on all 4 sides, again excluding the corners. And now I have all 4 sides done. I'm just gluing down any little stray pieces, and that's what the back would look like. I'm going to take the burnt umber acrylic paint by Apple Barrel and just super lightly dry brush on the 4 corners that are still exposed, because I want to give it a little bit more of a rustic look as well, and that'll help it stay in that little boho farmhouse world. And now I'm just going to glue the glass back on in the 4 corners using the hot glue, and then I will take my piece that has the little sticker on it, and I will glue that to the backing of the frame from the inside, and then I will hot glue the frame back on, and that's it. It could not be any easier. You could put a bow, you could add leaves, whatever you want, and I just love how it turned out. Barkeeper round tray. This is a set of 2. I'm only going to make 1, and it was $92 for 2. So that's still $46 for 1. I'm going to use these paint stir sticks that I ordered on Amazon, and they don't have the curvy part, so I really like them. And then I used 2 of the Hot Wheel tracks from the Dollar Tree, Waverly Paint Ink and Steel, and then the Folk Art Paint Metallic Silver. And what I'm going to do is start off with my Kills White primer, and I'm going to do almost 3 coats on both sides of these tracks. Now I cut one of them in half, then I added the steel color over the top after I had done several coats. And that is just to cover that white, but you only need to do 1 coat of that, because then I'm going to take the ink color, and with a stiff brush I'm just going to dab it all over, and I'm going to do that faux galvanized metal technique. Next comes white. I'm just going to dab that all over, both sides by the way, and then the metallic silver, and I'm going to dab that just to dull down the white and the black a little bit, and that's what kind of gives it that galvanized look. Now I'm going to take these 2 pieces of the track, and I'm going to figure out how I'm going to attach them to each other. There's holes at both ends except for the one I cut, so I'm going to use my crocodile, which is also from Amazon, and I'm going to make a hole on that other end so I have something to attach it with. Then I'm going to line them up and see how that's going to look, and I'm going to mark it, and I'm going to take a blade and cut off the raised piece because I want it to lay flat on top of the other one when I overlap them, and by getting rid of that little raised piece of the track I can accomplish that. And then I can use E6000 and hot glue combination and get those pieces to stick together. Then I'm going to take a clamp and hold them together because otherwise it just pops off until it dries. And then I'm temporarily going to put a clamp on the other side until I'm ready to glue it. And I'm going to draw a circle on my paper that's just on my desk because I need to create that wood base. So I'm going to use those paint stir sticks and I'm going to start cutting them with my miter shears from Amazon. And I'm using that circle that I drew on the paper as a way to determine how many pieces and how big I need them to be. And as I measure, I'm just drawing the lines where the circle will be. Now I'm going to glue them all together with a combination of hot glue and this liquid adhesive from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to wipe off the excess, and this is going to create my entire piece. Now I'm going to double check again the measurement. I'm going to put that ring over the top. I'm going to reinforce with some more glue. And then I'm going to use my blade and I'm going to start cutting off the excess around that circle. You just score it till it all comes off piece by piece. Next, I'm going to sand my wood. I want to get rid of the pencil marks and anything else. Then I'm going to take the Antique Wax by Waverly and I'm going to paint that on there and then wipe off the excess, basically to stain the wood. And I'm going to do that on both sides and around the edges. And now I'm going to take that ring that I created and I'm going to do a combination of hot glue and E6000 to attach it all the way around. Next, I'm going to take my steel paint, and where the wood shows on the bottom, I'm just going to paint that with the steel so it all looks cohesive. I'm going to take some wired jute cord from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to cut two pieces that will be the handles, and then I'm going to cut out of this tin baking pan from the Dollar Tree a couple of pieces that I'm going to wrap around each edge of those handles, and then I'm going to paint it all with the steel paint so it looks like it is metal that is welded on there, and the rope will actually look like a handle. And now I'm going to take my little tin pieces, wrap them around the edge of each side of that painted jute. And then once I'm done doing that and assembling them, I will hot glue them to each side of my tray. And I just use a little hot glue as I wrap it around the jute and I attach it 2 times to make sure when I first start and at the end, that way it's on there good and it's not going to go anywhere. Next, I'm going to take these 2 little pop-up dots from the Dollar Tree stickers. I'm going to paint 2 of them steel. I'm going to cover the holes that were there on the tracks. And it's going to end up looking like, you know, a rivet or a bolt that's there. And it just looks like it's supposed to be there. And now I'm going to attach those little handles. Now they're not really functional, although you could pick it up because this is very light. But this is more of a decor piece than a functional piece. This is going to be just fine with hot glue. Of course, you could use E6000 if you really felt better about it. And after the handles attached, this is complete. This was really fun to make, and I think it came out actually pretty cool. And I love that I used the Hot Wheel tracks. We're going to be all about nature. I'm going to use a bunch of sticks that my husband gathered from our yard, and I'm going to use some of this Spanish moss that I got at Walmart, and then my burnt umber apple barrel paint that's from Walmart. I'm going to put something in the center to cover it, and then I'm going to paint the whole mirror in the apple barrel color. And the reason I'm doing that is just so that it blends more with the sticks. I mean, more or less with the sticks. I don't think that silver blends as well. And I'm going to start gluing the sticks right to those main little sunburst pieces, if you will. And I'm using snips to cut them, but it wasn't working, so I had to pull up my miter shears from Amazon, one of my favorite tools. Not sure why I didn't grab it first, but really glad I did because it went a lot faster. And I just used one as a guide, and then I cut a bunch. And then I'm going to fill in with more sticks. So basically I'm just going to put a lot of sticks where those sunburst things are sticking out. I don't know what to call them exactly, the rays of it, whatever it is. Anyway, it's good. I ended up using tacky glue at first, and then I ended up securing it with hot glue because it wouldn't stick fast enough. It would have been fine, but I wasn't patient and I wanted to keep working. So I ended up just securing it with the hot glue, and then I could keep moving and all was well with the world. You could actually use anything that you can find outside for this: bark, leaves, pine cones, whatever you like. And there it is with all the sticks. And now I'm going to take the Spanish moss, and I can use the techie glue for this. And I'm just going to stick it in between the sticks and just kind of almost make like a nest kind of a feeling. This is, like I said, very much nature. And then I'm going to take these little cotton picks from the Dollar Tree and our pods, and I'm going to fluff some of them out and just kind of attach them with hot glue all around. And I just think it's so interesting and very natural. You could use it as a centerpiece, you can hang it on the wall, whatever you want. I just think it's kind of cool. Hey, if you put it outside, I bet some birds would take over. I don't think I'm going to do that though. I'm just going to, I don't know what I'm going to do with it actually. Anyway, for you nature lovers out there, this is a great option for you for the Dollar Tree mirrors. I mean, you would never know this was that same mirror. So there you go. I hope you guys like it. DIY is super simple. I'm using a coaster, 2 little pallet planks from the Dollar Tree, some florals from the Target dollar spot, some burlap from Walmart, and that's it. And I'm going to attach the 2 little planks together, and then I'm going to stain them with the antique wax, putting it on and then rubbing off the excess. And I'm going to do both sides on this because that's how I'm going to finish this one off. It doesn't make sense to put craft paper on it because of the slats. And I'm just making sure to cover every single piece of wood with this stain. I am also going to slightly distress the little coaster since it looks like it's got little wood planks on it too. I'm just going to go ahead and add some of the antique wax to that so that it will match with this kind of a rustic wood theme. I'm going to take the burlap and I'm going to cut out a piece so that it can lay right under the coaster and on top of the wood. And I'm going to fray the edges a little bit. I just want to add that for just that little extra embellishment and kind of that, again, rustic feel. I'm going to use just a little bit of hot glue, and be careful if you do this because the hot glue comes right through the burlap and you can burn yourself. I had to be super careful because I always burn myself, but I need to be better. And then I'm also going to hot glue the coaster right on top of that, right in the center. And I'm loving the way that looks, but of course I'm thinking it needs something more. So I've got these little florals. I'm going to cut off some little greenery pieces and position them at the top. I'm going to add a little flower, and I'm also going to add a little jute bow just because I just feel like it needed something extra. I'm actually very happy with how it turned out. For the jute bow, I just wrapped the jute around 2 fingers until I, got it thick enough. And then I tied another piece of jute right in the center. And then I just cut open the loops. And literally that's all I did to make that bow. Super easy, and it's really cute. And now I'm just hot gluing down the greenery, kind of like with the stems in the center so that it goes out on each side. And then I will place that little bow. And then in the center of the bow, I'm going to put a cute little flower. And I think that really finishes this piece off. And I really like it. It's not too many steps. It was super simple to do. You could go without the florals. You could go without the bow. But, just do it to the style that it fits your home and what you like. Platform set. There were 2 here for $148. I decided to make one, and I made it square instead of rectangle. Now this, I'm just using paint sticks and some paint, so it's really not going to cost very much. The paint sticks are the ones I got from Amazon, and that's apple barrel burnt umber paint with some water mixed in to create a stain. And I'm going to stain every single piece of the wood, all sides, edges, top, bottom. Once that's done, I just looked at the picture and figured out how many I might need for the top. I think I did 12, and then I had for each of the 4 sides. And then I also decided that in order to do this, I was gonna have to use some of my tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to use my square so I can get a good right angle, and I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and liquid adhesive from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to attach all my pieces. Now I'm going to use this only for lightweight things, so I wasn't too worried about the weight of it. If I needed this to hold something heavy, I would have absolutely used wood glue. And now I'm just assembling it, and I'm taking the cross slats over the top, and I'm going to attach each one. And I'm going to complete that top. Then I'm going to assemble the sides and the legs. And the legs are what I'm going to use the tumbling tower blocks for. I'm going to stain those as well with the mix that I had made. And then I'm going to take 2 of the tumbling tower blocks and use a combination of the liquid adhesive and the hot glue together. And then I'm going to stack that 2 high. So it's going to be 4 tumbling tower blocks for each leg. And then I will attach the side slats that go down a little bit lower. So there's the ones that are up close to the top, and then the one I'm putting right now on the side. And of course there's 4 of those as well. Now this was pretty easy to assemble once I figured out kind of the pattern of it. I think it's really cute, but I did want it to be a little more stable. So I don't know if the other one had this, but I added pieces underneath like crossbars just to make sure that this could hold anything at all, even just little decor pieces. I decided to add 1 more coat of stain, and then I took it outside and did a clear coat over the entire thing. And I love it. What do you guys think? And there's a set of 2. Theirs were $248, and I think they're a lot bigger than mine are, so that's probably why. But even so, that's a lot of money. Now, I found these little houses at Hobby Lobby. They were 40% off, so I bought a couple of them. And then I've got these extra popsicle sticks that I've had for a long time from the Dollar Tree. And I have some burnt umber apple barrel paint and some steel Waverly chalk paint. I'm going to mix them together and add a little teeny bit of water as well, stir it up, and then I'm going to paint all of my sticks after I assemble them on the roof. The only thing I really needed to do to these houses is just create the wood roof. So I measured them. I used my miter shears from Amazon to cut these little popsicle sticks, which is super easy with them. And then I literally will hot glue them right to the roof. Now the first one is super easy because there is no chimney. On the second one, I am going to have to cut a couple little pieces to size around the chimney, but it's really not a big deal. And then at the end, I might have a little hangover and I'll use some snips to go ahead and just cut those off. But literally this is a super, super easy dupe in DIY. And now I'm going to take my stain that I created. I'm going to put that all over the roof. And here I'm showing you how I'm going to do the pieces that have to be cut separately on the side with the chimney. Like I said, not complicated, just have to cut down the little popsicle sticks to fit. And here I am snipping off the ends just to make sure that they're more even. And I'm going to sand off the edges and make sure I get everything stained. And then the one other thing that's different is that there is like a piece of metal across the very peak of the roof on both of them. So I'm going to take out my little tin baking pan from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut a couple pieces. I'm going to measure them against the roof line, and then I'm literally going to fold them in half and hot glue them right to the top. And then I'm going to take my steel Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to dab over that shiny metal because I don't want it to be super shiny. And literally that's it. This one will be done super easy and so cute. I love these little houses. They have so much more character now than they did before. You have to tell me what you think. And would you consider doing something like this if you had a little metal house like this at home? Just for fun. Let me know in the comments. Another really easy DIY. I am using a DIY that I previously made, but it doesn't really fit my decor, so I decided I would go ahead and use a blade and take off the canvas that I had painted. I'm just going to pull that all off, and I'll use the canvas, the opposite side that I had painted on, for something else. I removed the staples, which are not the easiest thing, by the way, and then I sanded all the way around every surface on this because I just wanted it to not, give me splinters. And I've got this really cool wide ribbon from burlapfabric.com, which I will also have linked down below. I'm just going to cut a piece that fits across the entire frame, and I'll use that shortly. I'm going to use my Kills primer, and I am going to just lightly paint every part of this little frame, inside, outside, back, everything. But I'm not going to do a full coverage because I want it to look distressed, and I want some of that wood to peek through. And I'm going to use my heat tool so that I can dry that quickly, and I'll have a link in my Amazon store for that. Now I'm going to use my staple gun, and I'm going to attach this piece of ribbon that I cut to the back of my little frame, and I'm going to use quite a few staples because I want it to stay in place. And I do go later and I reinforce with a little bit of hot glue too, just in case it frays. And I have these little teeny sticks that I cut, and I'm going to do a little pattern where I kind of go back and forth like V, upside down V, V, and cross over the tops and bottoms of each one. I'm going to hot glue those in place. Like I said, this is super simple, very rustic, and it will fit with all kinds of different farmhouse decor, primitive, or just whatever you do rustic. And I just thought it would be really cute to add nature with some of my Dollar Tree stuff, and it's an easy project. And I'm going to take a little bit of my antique wax from Waverly, and I'm going to use a baby wipe. I'm just going to wipe it on lightly on all of the surfaces where I painted it with the white. Now I'm going to take a little piece of rope, and I'm going to hot glue that to the back and then reinforce that with a couple of staples as well. So I have a nice little hanger that you won't see when it's hanging up. Off camera, I added some little greenery that was rub-on stickers from Dollar Tree, and I just love it. Farmhouse Rustic DIY is going to be very rustic. I'm using even smaller sticks from that group of sticks that my husband collected for me. And I'm going to start hot gluing them together. Start with a square, and then I put in angles because ultimately I want it to be round. I am making a bird's nest. Now, having done this, you guys, I have gained a whole new respect for birds who make nests, because I had clippers, I had hot glue, I had someone else collect the sticks for me. I don't know how they do this without hands, basically with just their beaks. It's pretty impressive if you think about it. I'm adding some Spanish moss to the bottom, so that's going to be the very base of the little nest. And then I'm going to build up the sides again with more sticks, and then I'll build out from here so that it gets a little wider. So I wanted, like a nest, the center to be smaller, and then as you get to the edges, it gets wider. And I'm going to continue to add the sticks till I get it to the size that I want. I'm going to continue hot gluing the moss on until I think it looks just like a bird's nest. And now that I have the last little pieces of Spanish moss added on, I'm going to start working on making some eggs. I've got 2 Easter eggs from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use a mop head, but in the mop head, it's basically like 3 strands, so I'm going to separate them. Otherwise, it's going to be the biggest egg ever, so I want to use the thinnest piece of that mop head. I'm hot gluing the 2 little eggs so they stay shut, and then I'm going to start at the very top, and I'm just going to go around and around and around until I get the entire egg covered in the strand of the mop head. I'm going to do that with both of the eggs, and literally that's all I'm going to do to them because I want to keep this super simple and very rustic. And I do think they're super cute. Yeah, if you look really closely, you can kind of see the color poking through, but honestly, when they're laying in the nest, you don't notice it as much. And there they are. I'm going to make a little bow now. I'm taking this cute little blue polka dotted bow from Walmart, and I'm also going to take that really thin jute twine, and I'm going to double it up, and I'm just going to tie it around, wrap it around my finger, tie the middle, and then cut the ends, and then I'm going to make a little tail and hot glue the tail to it. I'm also going to wrap some of the blue ribbon around the center to give it like a pretty little center. And once that is all assembled, I'm just going to hot glue it right onto the nest. And that's going to be it, you guys. Oh, I am going to glue the eggs down so they don't move around, but it's just so cute and so easy, and you could style this any way you want, and it's perfect for spring and, you know, or Easter or whatever. I love it. I love the simplicity of it, but it's so beautiful. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you guys really like it. Out of my ears that I need to donate, and so I decided to use some of the book pages for a Trash to Treasure DIY. And so that's what I'm going to do. I've also got this old Yankee candle, and it cleaned it out, and I took off the label, and so that's another piece of trash I'm going to use. So I'm going to rip up some pages from the book, use my premium decoupage solution. It's not Mod Podge, but it is like Mod Podge, just not that brand. And I'm going to start applying it to the outside of this glass candle holder, and then I'm going to lay down the pieces until I've covered the entire thing. And you know, it does take a little bit of time because I cut them up in, or not cut them, I rip them up into small pieces, but I love the look, and it's just going to be so cute when it's all done. Totally worth it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'm using a foam brush for this because it absorbs that decoupage solution, and it's just so easy to put it onto the glass and over the paper, because I'm going to be putting it under and over the paper to make sure it's completely stuck to this candle holder. I have all my book pages attached now to the candle holder, and I'm going to use a chippy brush, and I'm just going to dry brush some of the antique wax from Waverly over it. So basically dry brushing, get a little bit on your brush, wipe off most of it, and then apply the rest, just kind of drag it across your surface. And I'm also going to hit the edges and seams if there were any, you know, harder, because that's where you would expect to see a little more of the antiquing. And actually when I say antiquing, I just mean wear and tear. I'm going to use a little bit of the faux leather ribbon from Dollar Tree. It's the darker brown color, and I'm going to make a little handle for this. I'm only going to do one. I decided to make this asymmetrical, and I'm just going to hot glue and smush it down so you don't get any bumps or ripples. That's the one thing about using hot glue with these. Sometimes you can see little bumps. I'm being really careful about it. And I'm just going to hot glue that on there, you know, even up a little bit higher to make sure it stays in place. Now, it's not a functional handle. It's just for looks only. Now, if you've watched my channel very much, you know I love these pop-up stickers. So I'm going to take 2 of them and leave them on the paper still, and I'm going to paint them black with some ink chalk paint. then I'm going to take them off, put a dab of hot glue on the back, and attach them to the very bottom of that faux leather ribbon to make it look like little tacks. I don't want the paint to chip or peel, so I'm going to put a little bit of the decoupage solution over the little stickers, and I think that's going to help keep them nice and black. I decided that it needed a little bit more of like a distress look, so I took some of the antique wax and I painted the inside bottom so it would kind of show through and not look like clear glass. And then of course once I started that, I got a little carried away and I started, brushing around the lid and along the base. And anyway, I do like the way it turned out. I just can never leave well enough alone. Does anyone else have that problem or just me? I decided to add some white flowers that I had from the Dollar Tree. They were so pretty. The only thing is they're so white, and I wondered, should I have put something not so bright in there? But then I thought, no, that's okay. And then I added a lily in the center, and I thought, isn't that just so sweet? You guys, I love this. Let me know what you think. DIY, I made a printable using Canva, and I will have a link as a free printable for anyone who wants to use it. Also got a Dollar Tree sign, some antique wax by Waverly, and my white Kills primer. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the little shamrock. I'm actually not going to work with that side. I'm going to cover it with some craft paper, and I'm actually going to use the back and turn it into the front. There was some burlap on the front, but it was on so good I just said, forget it. I'm not going to try to take that off. So I used my white primer paint, and actually I realized, I better draw my shiplap lines first, so I stopped. I actually dried the paint first really quick with a blow dryer so that I could go ahead and do this. And then I'm using a utility knife to actually cut into each of those lines so I see the difference, so they really look like little shiplap planks. And now I'm going back over the one that I did with the paint, and I'm going to finish painting. And I'm doing all my paint in one direction so that it looks like wood grain when I'm done with the whole technique that I'm going to do. I added a second coat, but as you can see, I'm not doing a heavy coverage. I'm letting some of the background peek through, and that's just going to add to what I'm trying to accomplish here. I'm going to take the antique wax, and I'm actually going to take a little brush and go through each of those lines that I carved out. And this is a technique that I learned from Jackie at Blessed Beyond Measure, and I will link her channel down in the description box. It's such a cool thing. I take a blending brush, and while it's still wet, and I just kind of go over it, and I blur it. And you can see there, it looks kind of funny right now, but it's going to look really good when it's all done. And now I'm taking a screwdriver, I guess, and I'm actually going back through those little lines that I carved out, and this really makes it look like separate pieces of wood. And I absolutely love the way this turned out. I'm going to take my printable, and I'm going to use a technique that I learned from my friend Holly at Hot Humble Pie. I'll leave a link for her channel down in my description box. So you spray a little water around the edges of the printable, and then you go ahead and rip the edges. So that gives it a really nice kind of rustic vintage look. And then I'm going to go ahead and use Aileen's decoupage stuff. It's like a Mod Podge. And I'm going to attach that to my sign. Once I have that attached to the sign, I'm going to go over the top again with some of that decoupage premium liquid. Once that dries, I'm going to take a utility knife and I'm just going to cut through those lines, but over the top of the paper. And that way it looks like, again, they're all individual little planks. Now I'm taking my antique wax and I'm going to lightly go over each of those plank lines again on the part of the printable that had not yet been distressed. So I'm going to do that for all of them, and then I'm going to blend it in, and then I'm going to distress the rest of that side because it's so much whiter than the rest of it, and I want to try to make it look, as vintage as possible. I felt like the colors were almost a little too vibrant on my printable, so I added some extra antique wax on there to just dull them a little bit. And I just think that really helped a lot. And then I used a baby wipe to wipe it off, and I kind of kept going back and forth, putting some on, taking it off until I felt like it was distressed enough. Next, it was time to cover the back with my craft paper. So I just cut a piece and then hot glued it and trimmed the edges. And that makes it have such a nice finished look. Plus then you won't see all of the St. Patrick's Day stuff on the back. In my stash, I had this little piece of leather, and it was just perfect to make a hanger, and it just fit the theme, kind of so rustic. So I poked the holes through the craft paper because there were already holes in the sign. I came from the back so that the knots will be in the front, tied the knot on each side, and that's my hanger. I just trimmed the edges, and I think it looks so cute. There is something so rustic about an old rugged cross, and that's what I'm going to make. I had a bunch of sticks that my husband was kind enough to gather for me before the winter started, and I've been saving them for, whatever I might want to use them for. So I'm gathering the same size sticks for the long side of the cross, and then I'm going to cut some to make the short side of the cross. And this is just so fun. I mean, I'm just playing with sticks. They're free. They came from outside. So now I'm going to use my tin snips and just try to cut off any knobs that are, distracting. Just, trying to get the pieces to a similar size. I'm not going for like an exact. I don't mind if some of the pieces stick out a little bit because this is rustic and it's rugged. And I just love the whole concept of this. Now that I have my two little stacks of sticks, easy for me to say, I'm going to use some jute twine and I'm going to tie just before the ends. So like, I don't know, an inch or so before each end. And I'm going to hot glue it down and I'm going to wrap it around so that it holds nice and sturdy. And then I'm going to add some additional hot glue here and there to make sure that it stays in place, like that the middle sticks don't slide out. I'm going to do this on each end of the two stacks. So that's 4 different spots that I'm going to do this. And it just adds to the farmhouse rustic look of it. And it's just, I love it, you guys. I really do. I mean, talk about a cost-effective DIY, but it's beautiful. It's just so natural and beautiful. And I cannot wait for this to be up in my house. I'm super excited. And now moving on to the short stack, which is the cross part of the cross, or should I say the horizontal part of the cross. I'm going to do the exact same thing to this one that I did to the other one. Now it's time to assemble my cross, and the way I'm going to do that is using that same twine. And I don't think I said it earlier, but this twine is from Walmart. I'm going to pull it under and I'm going to tie a knot around diagonally, and then I'm going to continue to wrap it around back and forth on each angle and then even around the two sides to get a really nice secure hold. And I'm going to hot glue it down, and just like I did with the other ones, look for any loose spots and add a little dab of hot glue to hold it in place. I want it to be very secure. I don't want this to go anywhere, and I am just loving this one, you guys. It's just peaceful. It's the cross. I mean, what it represents, and what Jesus did for us by being on that cross, it was just very cool to make this. I have this gorgeous burlap ribbon with lace over the middle from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap it from around the back of the tall side of the cross and then over the top of the horizontal pieces, kind of like a shroud. I mean, maybe you've seen people wrap things around a cross like this before, but I just thought it was just the perfect touch. It kept it farmhouse rustic, and it just, oh, I don't know, you guys, I really love this one. I don't know what else to say. Let me know what you think. I'm just so excited. I know my husband's gonna want it. I just know I'm never gonna see it again. Well, I shouldn't say that. He'll put it in his office, and that's where I'll see it again. Target dollar spot, and I don't want to use the flowers for this. I just want to use the rings, so I'm going to pry them off. They had them wrapped in this heavy duty little metal thing. Took some serious muscle, but I did it. And now I can use this to create my next project. I'm going to take some lavender pics. Now I'm going to paint this ring black with my ink Waverly chalk paint, both sides of course, and I just love the way that looks. I think that's just really nice. I love the original color, but it just isn't going to go with what I'm trying to do today. I'm going to remove the tag and trim down my little lavender pick, which I did get at the Dollar Tree, by the way. They have some pretty good ones this year. I also like the ones at Walmart too. Now I've got this really cute striped ribbon from burlapfabric.com, and I'm going to use this throughout this particular DIY. I absolutely love this ribbon, and of course I will have a link down in the description box. And of course I'm using my tin snips to cut these, which I love. They are so handy. I'm going to take a little piece of jute twine and just tie my pieces of lavender together. I want them to have the look like they're hanging, like when you hang dried flowers. So I'm just going to do that, wrap around the excess little bit of twine and hot glue it down. I'm going to fan out my pieces of lavender so that they kind of fill the entire ring. And then I'm going to take that adorable ribbon and I'm going to wrap it around the ring 3 different places, at the bottom, in the middle, and towards the top. And I think it just looks so cute. You know, sometimes you wrap around the whole ring, but I just wanted to add some accents because I want the lavender to be the focal point. And now I'm just trimming the excess that might show through. Now that I've got the ribbon wrapped around 3 times, I'm going to take some more of that same ribbon and I'm going to wrap it around the very bottom of my little bouquet of lavender. I just thought that would look really cute. And I'm going to hot glue it down. And then after that's done, I'm going to position it on the ring and then I can hang it like upside down and it looks so cute. It's very lightweight, so I can just use hot glue to attach it and it's going to stay just fine. And because I love this ribbon so much, I'm going to cut a little piece that I can wrap around at the very top, and then I will add a little bit of jute twine behind it and hide the hanger so it looks like the cute ribbon is the hanger, but really the jute twine behind it is. And I love doing that. It just makes it look so finished, but not secure to hang it by that really. So by putting the jute on there, it really does help make it secure. And to make the back look finished off, I'm going to cut another small piece of that ribbon and I'm going to cover the knot right over the back of the jute twine, and then all you'll see is the little hanger. And that is just so perfect. It looks much more finished now. Now, honestly, anyone could stop right here. Well, except me, of course. So I'm going to take some jute twine, wrap it around, and I'm going to make just a little kind of a messy bow with it. I'm going to tie it around the middle, cut open the loops and trim it, and I'm just going to hot glue it right to the center of where the gathering is of the lavender. And then I will be done. Believe it or not, but I think this turned out so cute. I really love it. I used this little garden edging from the Dollar Tree, and then there's also this gather sign I got at the Target dollar spot. That wreath that you saw is for a different DIY. I wasn't sure what I was going to do when I first started. I'm using my tin snips to take off all the edges and trim down this little garden edging, and those tin snips are amazing. I will link that down in the description box. I love them. And I'm just going to, shape it to the size that I want it to be. I don't know if you noticed, but I accidentally broke the piece on the top. So I'm going to hot glue it on both sides to get that thing to stay. And that does take care of it, by the way, so it worked out perfectly. I'm going to use my Kills white primer to heavily dry brush. I wouldn't even say it's a dry brush, it's a pretty wet brush. The front and back of the little garden edging. I wanted it to have a different look than just the black. Now I will struggle with this later, you'll see, because of the gather sign and how it doesn't show up really well, but we'll take care of that as we go. In the meantime, I love the way this looks. It's so pretty. Now I'm going to take my gather sign and I want to make it look like galvanized metal instead of just super shiny. So I'm going to use a little makeup sponge. First thing I'm going to do is take the Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, which is black. I'm going to dab it all over the sign until I have enough on there to make me feel like it looks good. And then I'm going to take my plaster color chalk paint and I'm going to put that all over, do the exact same thing. Next, I'm going to take my elephant color chalk paint, which is like a gray, and I'm going to do the same thing with that one. And then after that's done, I'm going to take my metallic silver and I'm going to do the same thing. And then I get the look that I'm hoping for, and it really does come out good. I learned this from a channel called Chalk It Up Fancy, and I will put their link in my description box as well. I'm going to use some Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel to create a bit of a rusted look. So I'm just going to put it around the edges of the letters, and it really does give it that, rust-worn look. It's a very cool technique. Now for the fun part, figuring out how I want to assemble this. I have this really cool twine ribbon from burlapfabrics.com, which I will put all the information in my description box. And I've also got these little lavender pics. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of stretch out the lavender so they spread out a little bit, trim off anything I don't like on there. And then I'm going to wrap that little twine ribbon around the bottom. It's so pretty. Oh my gosh, I love this ribbon. Thank you so much for sending this to me, burlapfabric.com. I am loving it. It's so unusual and it's just the coolest. Now I'm going to hot glue my little bundle of lavender down to the bottom of the center of this little edging, and it looks so good, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm really excited about this one. And I'm going to attach my little gather metal sign to the center of the bottom of the bouquet where that really cool ribbon is. Now this is where I started struggling because you can't hardly read the gather sign, and I just didn't think about that. I'm tacking down the little lavender plants so that they stay exactly where I want them to go. And I decided to add a little bit more lavender in the center because I felt like it was just missing something right there. I have this really cool wide ribbon that burlapfabric.com sent me, and I'm going to put that in the back. I think that's going to look really good. My first attempt to make the gather sign stand out is to put a little bit of a lighter color over it. It doesn't really work. I'm going to go back over some of that edging with a little bit of my black paint. Next, I'm going to hot glue that wide ribbon to the back and just make sure it's nice and secure. There's a little bit of excess hanging over on both sides, so I'm going to trim that off. In case I decide to hang this, I'm just going to add a little bit of jute twine around the back, make a knot, and glue it to that little piece in the back. And that's so simple, it'll just make it hang and you can't even see it. Okay, so I'm still struggling with seeing this gather sign, so now I'm trying the black paint and I'm putting it all around the edges. That really does help, actually. That is making it stand out a little better. But then I got a teeny bit heavy-handed with it, so I have to go back in with the elephant and cover up where I got too many black blotches. When you see the final reveal on this one, you'll see that I added a little bit of the celery colored paint, and that actually finally did the trick. If you also save containers, let me know in the comments what kind of crazy things you save. So I have this creamer container. I've got a bunch of them that I keep saving. I thought I'll make something out of it, so I'm going to repurpose it. I'm going to remove the outer wrapping, and I'm going to use a combination of the white rope from Dollar Tree, which I love, and I finally found some, and then also some regular natural-looking nautical rope that I have, also from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to do a combination of those, wrapping them around this bottle and hot gluing it. Now the tricky part was getting the little like nozzle twist top part off. I should have just gotten out a saw, which I don't know why I didn't, but I used my hot glue gun and I poked holes all the way around and then took a scissors and cut it off. What a dumb idea. Okay, you guys, don't do that. Just don't do that. Either leave the top on and cover it with the rope or get a saw or something. That was just not my brightest moment. Anyway, it's off. That's all that really matters. And now I'm going to go hot glue all this rope on. With the white rope, it's a little like kind of frayy. Is that a word? Frayy at the end. So I used a little hot glue on the end first and kind of like pulled it together so it was more of like a nice tight end. And then I attached it. And I do that also when I get to the end of the white rope before I start another one. Otherwise, it's just too wide. Does that make sense? Anyway, go ahead and watch. You'll just see me. I'm going to speed it up and you'll just see me wrapping the rope all the way around. I decided to alternate between the 2 different kind of ropes. I thought that made it look more interesting. And then when I get to the very top and I'm back to the natural looking rope, because it was such a jagged top edge because of the ridiculous way that I cut it off, I went ahead and I just kept wrapping over the top a little bit to cover all the plastic, so there were no sharp ends or anything like that at all. Once I get to the top, I just tuck it under a little bit, hot glue it, and cut off the rope. And now I'm going to grab some really pretty florals that I got at the Dollar Tree. I love these little pink and white flowers. You could put any flowers that suit your decor or the season, so you can change them out very easily. And I'm just going to start cutting them into pieces. I'm also going to add another little pick that I found. They're kind of like these pink mini berry looking things. I don't really think they're berries, but I don't know how to describe them. But I like it because it's a different texture and they're tall and kind of windy. Thought that made it look very interesting. And you guys, literally that's it. This was a really easy DIY and I'm really happy with how it turned out. What do you think? Well, let me know down in the comments. Ready for more inspiration? Here's another video I think you'll really like. If you click on it, I will see you there. You are truly a blessing to me. Bye!